Hello, everybody. How goes it? Just tweaking a few settings before I'm here. Hello. Woo, that's scary. Hi. How's it going? By the way, if you enjoyed any of that music, if you happen to listen to it, KK Bootleg. It's a bunch of bootleg Animal Crossing music, that I did for the Animal Crossing video I did a little while ago on the anniversary. So that's there, if you're interested in something like that. But anyway, this is also from that. I'm surprised it's just set to random. It picked a bunch of Animal Crossing music. There's other stuff too. Anyway, so if you didn't see my tweet from yesterday, I headed out for my great-grandmother's birthday. Looked like I picked my nose. I did not, but it looked like it. So I did that. It's like the first time I've been outside for a fairly extended period of time, and also around other people, more than like 5 people. Big stuff, you know. Haven't quite got my second COVID shot yet, but that's Saturday, or I guess tomorrow, so there you go. Either way, the reason I'm bringing this up, because it's not super important, but literally, I think the whole trip was like, from heading out to coming back was like 4 hours. And I got, in that time, not even, here's the thing, I was outside for most of the time, and I was in the sun for a bit. But I was also in the shade, and some of it was kind of cloudy. There was, some rain clouds that went over. There was no rain, but it almost happened. But I got sunburnt from 4 hours. That's literally just because I haven't gone outside. I'm pale as ever. I know that. I look not as pale on camera. I'm already pale. I'm way more pale than on camera. The camera's doing me a service. But, yeah, I got sunburn on my arms. Just kind of lightly. Nothing bad of that, but I've just been, like, itchy. Yesterday and today. And it's kind of pinkish red. I don't know if it comes up on the camera. Not really. The camera kind of doesn't see it, but it's slightly pinkish. It's not as bad today. It was worse yesterday. But oh my gosh. I'm more disappointed in the fact that it was only, maybe like 3 hours of sunlight, and I got sunburn on my arms. Come on. Really? Whatever. Things happen, but man. It's just that, like, I thought I was a little bit better than that. I thought I was a little protected, at least. Like, it was not something like, if you spent a day at the beach and it was that same amount of time, I feel like that would be a little bit, just because of the water and the fact that you're in the sun the whole time. But I was not in the sun the whole time. I was inside for a little while. I was outside, so like, realistically, only like 2 hours max of sunlight outside. And sunburn. And I'm usually not one to sunburn easily, but like, for some reason, it happened that way. So, oh well. Yeah. So, okay. Today, I'm gonna explain what we're doing today. The title kind of makes it obvious, I guess. We're just doing some Animal Crossing art because, I do some art occasionally, sometimes for stuff in Source Filmmaker. Most recently, Animal Crossing stuff. I say I do it. I don't do it that often. I think again. Oh, it's going through it. I see what's happening. There we go. But let's do a little. Sure. That's loud. I was confused as to why the music was doing the stuff it was doing. So, I do like art occasionally in Source Filmmaker. For those of you who do not know what Source Filmmaker is, it's kind of like a 3D animation program, but it's not something like Blender or I don't know, Maya, if you want to say that, or like 3ds Max. No, nothing like that. Like, it's a similar kind of idea, but it's like a a more underpowered one. It uses like a game engine to do it. It uses Source, aka Source Filmmaker, by Valve, because they have the Source engine. You know, Half-Life, Portal, Team Fortress 2, CS:GO. Same engine, but it's kind of powered in a way to allow you to make like animations or posters. So I use it for that. Let me just I'll show you some like kind of cases of that. I'll turn the music down a little bit on my end. Apologies. I just don't want you guys hearing that too much on my end. Okay, so let me see if I can find some stuff here. My Source Filmmaker stuff is kind of all over the place. Well, I guess I can show you some more recent stuff. Actually, I'll just have to look this up because I don't know where some of it. Okay, here's some of it. Here's some stuff. I found some stuff. Okay. All right, so if you guys watch Carly, which has been on the stream before, and I've also been on streams with her as well, and also on other streams that had both me and her, but was not our stream. So, you know. But here's this. This is her like kind of profile picture. I just made this testing some Animal Crossing stuff before I ever really did Animal Crossing renders in Source Filmmaker, but that was just kind of a test thing. Obviously, it was then put into Photoshop for some extra like, you know, outline effects in the background and some lighting and stuff, but generally this was in Source Filmmaker. And actually I can show you guys, here's the raw Source Filmmaker without anything. Well, not completely raw, it's like the lighting's kind of adjusted a little bit, just level wise, and the background has to be removed after. You can't export that way from Source Filmmaker, but there's easy ways to get around that. You might have seen, I have a Source Filmmaker. I don't think did I ever export that to YouTube? That might be one of the VODs that never made it to YouTube. There's a handful of VODs I never put on YouTube. And I think that was one of them. But there was a Source Filmmaker stream that I did in the past. And we just made like a general scout poster of some sort. Scout from Team Fortress 2. Basically everything Team Fortress 2 is in the game. Because it's Source Filmmaker. And that's mainly the thing that they advertise Source Filmmaker with. When they first released it. They haven't really updated it in a very long time. But whatever. So that's that. The nice thing about Source Filmmaker is you can get like workshop tools. So you can basically like import custom models and stuff, and people can make stuff for it. And you just basically subscribe to it on Steam. I mean, other things have workshop support, but for this, it's like you subscribe to it and then it shows up and downloads in the program when you launch it the next time, and then you have stuff to use. Aka this Animal Crossing stuff. The Animal Crossing one's cool because it actually, the person that makes it updates it with the any newly added stuff, any new clothes or accessories or hats or whatever. So it's very up to date. It's a little convoluted to use. I am going to have to assemble my own villager on stream here because I'm going to do something with my own villager. So we're going to have to do that, but so I'll try to do that as quickly as I can, but it does take a little bit. Here's another thing too. A more recent piece of art I didn't make too long ago for Carly. She uses this on our Instagram. So there's that. This is actually a cropped version of a higher resolution piece of art. I won't show that one because she hasn't used that yet, so I don't know if she wants me to show that. But she uses that on her Instagram. And if you watch her stream, that's Ricardo. Sure. Anyway, so did that. And yeah, so that's just kind of a few examples. Actually, I can probably find the thing we made on stream last time. Let me see if I can find that. I have no idea if I even have that anywhere. That's like obvious. If I can find anything. Might be in here actually. Oh, yay. Thankfully, I manage my files decently. There's that. So that's what we made on stream. We just made it as like a joke meme template. That is raw from SFM, so that's not even edited slightly. That is what you would export, and you'd have to green screen that out. Probably clean up some of the lines a little bit, clean up some textures and stuff. We'll probably do that today. Not fully sure. Usually with the Animal Crossing ones, I don't have to touch them up too much because they're decent models. The TF2 ones, depending on how they're posed, can be bad. This one's not too bad, but some of the other TF2 models can be kind of glitchy. So, not glitchy, just like certain expressions look kind of bad. We did this on stream too. I never really liked this one though. That one's got a weird filter on it, but you know, that kind of thing. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do with Source Filmmaker. Ooh, here's something I made a long time ago. Back when I was not going by riskRED, there's the old logo. So, you know, either way, that's kind of what we're going to be doing today, stuff like this. So, that's the idea. And oh my god, wait a minute, whoa. I have some really old art that's really bad. Yeah, that's not great. There's only like one light. You have to, so for like lighting and stuff, you actually have to do all the lighting manually. So if you're interested in lighting, I'm going to be going over that today. As well as like kind of compositing, I guess, because we'll probably be putting in a new background and stuff. I'm not sure if we'll do that. We might not do that. It might be, well, there'll be a little bit of compositing. I think the art I'm going to do today for my Animal Crossing villager is to kind of duplicate my profile picture on, you know, Twitter, on Twitch, all that kind of stuff, and YouTube and all that. So I'm probably going to try to duplicate that, but with my villager. But I do want to assemble the whole villager, because who knows, maybe we'll do something else too. So yeah, but anyway, so that one's kind of bad because there's only one light. You have to do all the lighting, place all the lights, you know, change their color, change their values and stuff. So getting the lighting to look good, it's not super difficult. You just kind of have to know what you're kind of aiming to do, and then do it. Yeah, anyway. All right, I have it open already, so I guess we can get into it. So here's Source Filmmaker. I'm going to try to resize a few things, see if I can make this look a little bit better for you guys. There you go. I need these windows. I don't really need the bottom window because we're not doing animations, but I do need it a little bit, just there's a few things. So this might look a little confusing to you, so just to explain really quickly, it'll probably be obvious as we go, but I'll explain it now. I have to load a map here first, but one thing that we're going to do is when you look at this, there's two viewports here. So there's basically two views. That's not the main way that Source Filmmaker is set up, but I kind of advise that you do that if you're going to use this, and set up one viewport. Usually I use two monitors for this, but because we're streaming, it's a little bit easier to just do this on one. Yeah, so the one viewport here will be our like main view. We'll set up a camera and kind of lock it off. We might change it a little bit after, but generally it's going to be where it is. And then our other camera is our work camera that we just move around to kind of, you know, work with. So yeah, and you move around similar to, it's still like WASD. You move around kind of like no clip in, you know, whatever game that has no clip and stuff. So that's kind of how that goes. What the heck is this? Also, by the way, fair warning, my power may go out at any time because it is downpouring right now. So apologies for that if you can hear that. It gets very loud in here because it's a very big room in here. So there's a lot of area. It is very much downpouring right now. So apologies if you can hear that. The music like weirdly went for some reason there. Okay, so let's load a map. So the main map I use here is this map called Stage, because it's just a big empty box. And for renders, it's nice to have other maps, but there's not a lot of map options that aren't like TF2 maps or like CSGO. most of the maps in this game are like based on a Valve game, which is fine. But to kind of get that more interesting art, I kind of just add the background and the floor and stuff in Photoshop, and there's ways to do that to make it look decent. You know, it's a bit of trial and error to make things work out correctly, but generally it works pretty well. It takes a little bit to load a map, so we're just kind of chilling for right now. It shouldn't be too long with stage because it's pretty simple, but bigger maps take longer to load. This one's not too bad, but because we're streaming, I don't know how long it's gonna take. But yeah, we're just kind of chilling while I'm getting some insane downpour right now. Crazy. Whew. Apparently some of my power went out when we were streaming Zelda. the last part of it. There we go. So there's the map. So yeah. But apparently some of the power went out, but my power stayed on, so we got to stream and finish the game, which is very useful. So what we're going to do on here is I'm going to... there's just a place to set a camera, so I'm going to do that. There's that, and then for this camera, I'm just going to say create animation set. Animation sets go over here. Basically, it's just like your properties of whatever object you made. And the camera doesn't default to having one, but if you make one, then you can kind of edit it. So there's our camera. Fun, fancy, right? We turn off the animation set. Actually, no, it does stay there. I thought that got rid of it. Whatever. So that's our camera. To explain these lines really quick, basically that's like your field of view, where your camera's being kind of shot. These lines are basically just showing like where your camera direction and like, again, your field of view is. So like if we go into our animation set here, cut off a little bit, I'll extend it real quick. So you go here, there's a bunch of different options. So for example, actually if you hit all, you can see them all here, and they're little sliders. Basically have like your field of view, so you can see the camera changing, and then you can see on the right side, that's our camera view, so you can see how it kind of changes, gets closer and all that cool stuff. We have focal distance, so that pink line here is going to move and do this, and you'll see this weird kind of purpley sort of thing on the actual view. So what that is basically, it works similar to a camera, right? So if you don't know the kind of specifics of a camera, focal distance basically is like where your focus is. So here, I can show you an example. I'm on a DSLR, right? This is what this webcam is. So you're seeing me, the focal distance is set to roughly where I am, unless you see me in focus. Hello, hi. So I'm here, right? But if I set the focus on the camera, something else, the focal distance is behind me now, and I'm real blurry. So we're doing that, but in Source Filmmaker. And I realize some of you might understand what that is, and it's like, oh, this is redundant. I know what all this is, but some might not, so I'm just kind of wanting to explain that. So there's that. Aperture is basically just setting how blurry it is. It is more specific than that, but generally that's all you really need to know. It's basically just how much blur is in your range of focus. So like if you have your focus set to where, say, I am, and you adjust the aperture, it'll be very blurry behind me, and likely very blurry in front of me if I put anything slightly in front of me. It decreases your range a little bit. The aperture on this lens of my own camera is not that high, so it's not very blurry behind me, which is fine. I like slightly blurrier backgrounds, so I thought about buying a different lens for that, but I have not done that. So, you know, but if you set your aperture really high, it's going to be very blurry pretty quickly when you extend past where your focal range is. And it's going to be a lot easier to get out of focus because of that. But sometimes there's a bigger aesthetic to that. If you've ever watched a Zack Snyder movie, he loves blur so much with that kind of thing. He has very blurry backgrounds and stuff, but it looks cool. It looks cool. Anyway, so tone map scale is basically just setting your camera lighting, like how basically your exposure, so how bright it's going to be or how dark it's going to be. Bloom scale is basically just adding like little bits of like extra, you know, brightness to your lights, kind of making them glow a little bit, and you can set how much of that exists. Usually we set that to low because we're going to do a green screen thing later, and it kind of can cut into the green screen sometimes, so to make it easier we just kind of add that after the fact. That's mostly an effect you want to use for making like actual animations and stuff. Yeah, I'll talk about this a little bit later. There's this thing called SSAO, which is basically your ambient occlusion. Ambient occlusion basically is just like determining how shadows exist in space based on the models and things that exist in that space. So, like, you know, obviously, you know, a light and shadow. Like, if I put my hand here, there's a shadow on my face. But, like, there's little shadows in between my fingers and stuff, and in between, like, where my clothes start, and my, you know, they're subtle, but they're there, and that just has a little bit of shadow depth just because it's, like, you know, an object that exists. I don't know how to better explain it, but there's little tiny shadows everywhere that just create slight, subtle depth and stuff. And that's all determined in, of course, Filmmaker with ambient occlusion, and SSAO bias, SSAO strength and radius determines kind of the parameters of how all that works. I'll kind of show you how I set it up, but it'll be more important when we get there. So I just want to kind of explain that when we need to. I'll do that later, because right now it's kind of hard to explain when we have nothing here. So yeah. But anyway, that's pretty much it. And then you can obviously move the camera. So there's two different timeline settings. You guys can't see it. But if I hide myself real quick, here, there's like a timeline. There's some buttons here, down there. This is your main timeline. So when you're on this, it will render the scene with the max settings and you can't change anything. If you go here, it will not render everything to max quality, and it will allow you to actually change things. This is kind of the editing mode versus the like processing mode. That's the best way to kind of view it, at least if you're making posters. It's kind of a bit different if you're making like a film kind of thing. That's generally what that is. So anyway, yeah, I guess let's get into this. Anything you load, if you have a camera in, is going to load basically right where the camera is, so we're going to have to move everything. But yeah, I do not want that. I want Animal Crossing, I believe, which should be somewhere here. I can't remember which folder it is. I have two separate Animal Crossing folders because one has like specific characters and then the other one has like all the assets and stuff. Oh, we can load in error. That's only showing up because there's no models we've selected. If you've ever played a Source Filmmaker game, specifically Gmod, you've probably seen this quite a few times in your life. Because anytime a model loads into the game and it doesn't have anything to get, it loads this in. Big old flashing error. You know, just to make it obvious that there's oh, these are the special characters. Okay, I went to the wrong one. It's this one, I think. Oh wait, no, is it not? Neither of these are Animal Crossing. What? Why is there only like 5 characters? I have Animal Crossing. No. Okay, hold on. Well, I gotta go here. Oh, it's in here. Right, I forgot it was under the man who makes it. So, okay, there we go. There we go. So, now we're in the right one. So these are all Animal Crossing stuff. So this is all accessories and stuff. We don't need to get into that. We need to find the human preset, which I forget where it is. There's like a player preset one, and I gotta find where it is, so give me like a second while I try to find where it is. I used to know the name. I always forget the name of the actual thing. I think it's in presets. Yeah, so here's this. Yes, this is almost a naked villager, but it's not quite. It's just a villager without the any sort of stuff on it. So we use this for a base. There are preset ones here, like this, but we're making our own villager, so we need this, which is a little bit more terrifying, but this is made in a certain way so that we can put the right things on it. So there's that terrifying thing. A little spooky. We're not breaking TOS with this because this is not a new villager. This is just a tan suit. It's fine. Don't worry about it. If you press shift, your model will like stay on the ground. So usually we put them on this little orange circle here. And then we're gonna move the camera back. There's a cool thing you can do with the camera. If you do this, we have the camera set kind of where we want. There's some buttons here that are different moving modes as well. We have like kind of position based on coordinates. That's what that is. This one is rotation. To rotate it, if you do this, you can move it around like a madman. Cool stuff. And then this one's kind of just nothing. It's just kind of a selection thing. And then this one's a really weird one where you can like move it based on like the middle of this circle. That one's a really weird one. I never use that one. It's very odd. I would like to redo some of those motions. I want my camera back where I put it. Yeah, that one's really weird because then it like screws up everything else. I gotta put it back where it is. There's a way to reset it and I don't remember how. Doesn't really matter. We're not moving our camera too much, so I'm not worried about it. But I'm trying to get this aligned right. There we go. So what I like to do is on the camera, there's this little tab over here and you get like these different lens presets. So if you just do this, it just puts in different like widths of what like a actual lens type is. And I just find the one I like the most. I'm either doing 50 or 35 typically. I'm not sure which one we'll be doing for this. Probably 50? Maybe 35. Hard to say. It's going to be in between 50 and 35. I might do 50, but that might not let us get our focal lens close enough. We'll see. We'll leave it there for now. Because I'm kind of going to be doing my avatar picture, I'm thinking it's going to be a little bit more zoomed in. But anyway, we'll kind of change it once we put our villager together. We need to do that right now. So we need to first find different things in here. So this is a big list, but you can kind of look at the different presets here. So this is humans, this is hair. That's exactly where we want to be. So there's a bunch of different types of hair in this. I'm going to be trying to find the hair that is based off of my villager. And you can use the arrow keys to get through and kind of look at them. You can see all these models, and that's the one, I believe. Yep, that's the one, that's the hair. Also, these are actually from Animal Crossing New Horizons, by the way, so that's very interesting. But anyway, so the camera looks great over here now. Everything, again, loads right in front of the camera, so yeah. So we want to attach the hair to our villager dude, which would be ideal. You know, we want the hair to be on his head and stay on his head and be there, right? We also want to change the color, but I'll show you how to do that in a second. It's always convoluted for me, and I also have to open Steam to find the colors because I don't remember the actual colors myself for Animal Crossing stuff. There is like a little guide thing to show you how to put that all together. But anyway, okay, so basically we're gonna take the hair here, and when you open a model, it gives you its different like bones. So we have root transform and bip head, if you will. So basically the root transform is like every model has a root transform, and that's basically like all the bones are going to move along with it. And then because this is just hair, there's no bones in the hair, so it's not going to move anything. But if there's a model that's like, say, a shirt, if there's like, usually it'll be dissected into like spine 1, 2, 3, and 4. It'll move different parts based on like where the spine would be on the body, because it has to have the same bones as a model, right? So if we go to our base model here, you can see there's a lot of points here. These are all the different bones that you can move. So if we go to arms, for example, and we go over to this guy, so we're on this arm, right? If we go to the lower arm, we move that, that's his elbow, and we move this, that moves his arm, right? So there's his arm, right? Now some people will apply a rig to a model, where basically if you like move his hand, the rest of the bones are going to move according to that. But if we move his hand, other than if we rotate it, obviously it's going to stay attached, but we can do weird things like intersect it like that, which looks a little weird. Also, if we drag it out, it just stretches. Or if we move it like over here, it just does weird stuff like that. But a rig would actually move the rest of the arm to try to adjust the best position to how you move the hand. I don't use rigs. Well, this one doesn't really have a good rig, but I typically don't use rigs because I just like thinking of how a model would move in terms of rotation, because realistically, a body actually moves with rotations. You don't, if you're moving your hand from here to here, you know, here to there, right? You're not, you know, just like moving your hand from here to here and then your arms are stretching that. Your arms, this part of your arm is going up a little bit, this part of your arm is stretching out a little bit, and you're moving your hand. Like, right? Like everything's a rotation based on other things. So when you think about it that way, it's pretty easy to recreate other poses for things. Because you're like, okay, so somebody's sitting, say, on against the wall, and they have like their legs kind of up and then they're arched. So their legs are kind of rotated up quite high, and then the bottom part is kind of rotated out a little bit. You know what I mean? You can kind of think of like how somebody would be sitting, right? Like their legs on this villager would be like, the hip would be up quite a bit, and then this part of like the knee would be like down like this. That's the wrong part of the knee, but you know, like the knee would be like that, and then their legs up like that, which looks really weird, but you know what I mean? This is a weird model to show that example, but stuff like that. So I try to think of it in terms of rotations. But anyway, so let's get this hair on our villager person. The way we do that is we actually do want the villager's stuff open here. We're going to take the root transform, and I always do this backwards usually the first time. I believe we want to drag this root transform to this one, then say 0. We go to procedural and 0, and that'll make the point reset to the base point value, which we have now locked to the root transform of the body, which would in turn make its value point the same as that and thus be in the same spot. Like that. So now the hair is at the same exact point as the root transform of this body, which puts the hair in the exact right place it needs to be, which is really, really cool. It's not quite in the right place for some reason. I just noticed that. I'm not sure why that is. I guess the root transform isn't quite in the same spot. That's strange. Usually it is. Let's try the bip head. Usually that's better. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, so the root transform is not in the right spot for some reason. That's fine. We can lock the root transform now. We don't have to adjust it, because if we move our head now, not just the hair. If we move just the hair is only going to move. That's the pelvis. But if we move the hair is going to move with it because we locked it. So, head banging. Anyway, so that's that, right? So there's our villager with the hair. The hair's the wrong color, but that's fine. We'll change that later. We have to change some like textures and stuff too for a few bits of clothing and stuff. So we'll figure that out as we go. So Next, we're going to put the face. Oh, actually, the nose. So the nose is already on our villager. We can actually change this already. Now, I use this nose normally, but just to show you, some models have body groups. For example, you can see that the cheeks are kind of like this pinkish. It's hard to see, but there's a bit of a pinkish cheek that's on. I don't want that. I don't use that. Some models have different things already on them, so we can say none, which will get rid of the cheeks. And then there's like another type of cheeks there too, apparently. Cheek 1. That's the thinner, softer one, which I also don't want to use, but just to show you. But you can do this to change the noses too, to like the cuter button nose and stuff. I just use the default one, so I don't need to change that, but just to show you. There's stuff for ears. That's just to remove the ears if you have a piece of hair that hides the ears for whatever reason, because some of the hair in the game does that. But anyway, so there's that. There's the hair. Let's put the eyes on, which is separate. That's just how the Animal Crossing villagers work, because that's how they work. So we gotta find where the eyes are. They should be in their own category. There we go. So here's eyes. Eyes are kind of hard to see. Some models are weird that way. You can see that we can't really see the eyes. Now, I forget what my eyes for my villager are. Actually, that's not true. I do remember. Now, we could go through and try to figure out which eye it is, like the hair. The hair was easy because we could see it, but we can't see this. So what we can do is in Steam, if we go to the workshop here, and we look up Source Filmmaker. Source Filmmaker, just like that. Ooh, they actually have the Death Stranding skeleton soldiers, that's cool. There's always cool stuff to see. And a high polygon scout, that's cool. Anyway, so if we look up Animal Crossing, we'll probably find that villager pack that I use. So you can see this too if you want to do this yourself. There it is here, it's this human pack. If you go here, there is a little thing here that shows you how to select the right things. So for eyes, for example, so there's the hair. We have to do the mouth as well, which isn't super complicated because there's only 4 of them. But so here's the eyes, right? And this is in reading order, right? So if we go left to right, we start at 0, by the way, so this is 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, and so on. So my eyes are, I believe these ones, which is all the way at, well, this would be 26 or 25 because we start at 0, so 25, 24, 23. So we are eye 23. So that is right. Then if I select 23, this should be the eyes we use. And we still can't see them because they are all the way here, but it does appear to be right. The reason we can't see them is because this model is actually transparent. It actually uses the villager model to give it some of its original color. So that's why we can't see it. Anytime there's like a slightly transparent model, the model viewer doesn't really see it right. I don't know why. That's just the way that Source Filmmaker is. It's kind of weird. But anyway, so we should be able to do the same thing we did earlier with our head. We do the same thing, hit 0, there are our eyes. And we're very, you know, our villager's very angelic right now just because of the fact that our villager is all white color kind of stuff, but we can change that. We can change that. It's fine. We will do that. So yeah, let's get the mouth too. We can almost guess on the mouth. I believe my mouth for my villager is mouth 3. I believe it's mouth 3. Could be wrong. Where's the mouths? There's not a lot of them, so we could easily miss them. There they are. I saw them. There they are. Mouth 3. Or no, actually, sorry, mouth 2. Nope, it is not mouth 2. I do not have the bucktooth one. Was it just the last one? It was the last one, never mind. So it was mouth 3, but it was mouth 4. What I thought. I was close. I should have just went with the one that said mouth 3 and I would have been right. There you go. There's the right mouth. Mouths are fun. So if you want to have like an open mouth, like some sort of like happy expression or something like that, you can do that. But what you have to do is you go in the body group like you normally would with something like that. And you can say, I don't know, default open, and then there you go, right? Now it's open. That's how it works. That's helpful for actual animation because you can change the body group as you go through. So that's just something. And again, we will do our normal locking of the head. If you lock the head, everything else should move along with it. Like usually you don't need to lock the spine to the mouth because the mouth does not move with the spine. But you can if you want. So hey, there we go, guys. There's our villager. We're getting there. We're getting there. We're putting our dude together. Pretty cool, pretty cool. So there's that. Alright, so now that we have that, let's actually color the hair on this dude. And the eyes as well while we're at it. So coloring is weird. So the way to do that is you want to like go to your model, and then you want to say add override materials, I believe, and then you have to go to the element viewer, or you have to click and say show this in the element viewer, and say the model, and then we'll go here. And this is kind of like the properties specifically of like the model and like how the textures interact. So if we go here and then we go to mHairD, very convoluted, you have to like add a property to it, and I believe it's color in color. I believe that's what we have to do. We have to like go to here, pick the right thing, which should be color, and I believe it's just actually color. It might be base color. I can't remember. It does have a thing in the. I just want to make sure I'm doing this right. It doesn't say. Well, that's a little confusing. I believe it is literally just color in the color. Hey, good morning. Gonna be doing that work lurk thing while listening to you. No problem. Thanks for coming on by. I believe it is color. Yes, it is just color. There we go. Hope your day's going well, by the way. Whichever you're doing at your workplace. Whether that be at home or actually at some place. I mean, it's Friday before 3-day weekend. Nice. Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, I'm Canadian, so that doesn't really apply. But, you know, fair enough. Right, I just remembered something. So we need for color values here. That's what these are. So this is skin colors. We don't need skin colors. We need our hair color, which is down here. So these are all the main colors. Very useful, by the way. Can I just say? Thank God this thing exists. Because, man, I would not... Like, obviously we could guess pretty close to what the hair color is supposed to be. But, like, you want them to be accurate. I use the darkest color. This is like... It's actually kind of a black-brown color. Like, it's like a very dark, very desaturated brown color. But it's not pure black. I would never recommend using pure black for a hair color. It just does not look good. Like a very slightly dark brown color, like this, is kind of the better thing, because realistically, black hair is just really, really dark brown to the point where it doesn't look brown anymore. So that would be hair 1. And it's just 4, 5, 4, 5, 4, 5. That's easy to remember. Man, I make it easy for myself. Carly's hair color is the like next one over, and that one I always forget the numbers for. All we have to do is 4, 5, 4, 5, or 5. Wow, look at that. We did it. Perfect. And that is the color. It looks pretty dark still, but it will look better when we add lighting. But that's the color. We also have to add our eye color here. Let's do that. And that's the same thing. We just have to add our override materials and then view it in the element viewer so we can see those properties. And if you don't say add override materials, you're not going to have this category here. That's why we do that. Forget, do we have to change DP or D? I believe we have to change the DP color. Yes. I remember being stuck for a good like 30 minutes just trying to change this one, but this is the one we have to change. So, anyway, add attribute, add color the same way we did. Each attribute starts with a $sign. I don't know why. That's just the way Source Filmmaker works. Don't question it. That is very terrifying when it's all black. That's very scary and unsettling. I have the green eye color, which is this one, which is 4. So that's 768965. I'm not gonna remember that. 768965. Let's try it. I've already forgot it. So what was it? 7685. Was it 69? No. My mind wanted to say 69. It was not. 65. There you go. There's the green eye color. I use green because I don't like the brown. My eyes are closer to the green color. It's harder to tell usually. Let's see. Today, my eyes look very brown today. Brown eye. My eyes are hazel colored, but some days it looks brown, other days it looks really green. I have a picture on my Instagram that I took very close up with my older camera, not my current camera that I'm using now, and it looked super green. But then I've taken other pictures of myself and my eyes look super brown. I just go with green because typically they look green. So that's what I go with. And I don't like the brown eye color at all, so anyway, there's that. So let's see here. So now we have that. We have the colors. We had the colors, everybody. We got that. Here's the hard part. Clothes. Clothes don't really work the same way. We can't just... They don't work the way you'd want them to work. Like accessories, like face stuff, like glasses and masks and stuff, those work the way you'd want them to work, where it's like, okay, let's go to accessories for whatever reason. So we're in human ACNH. Let us go to accessories or whatever. I think they're listed as glasses. Not fully sure. They are not. Where's the glasses, damn it? Oh, there they are. I went past them. They are accessories. So if we go here, you can see all the models and we can just go through. I gotta find my glasses. I don't know where they are, but we'll scroll through. There's not too many, but you can just go through and you can see all the models, see? There's the sunflower ones. There's the swimming goggles, the ski goggles, all that sort of stuff. And we can just go through and literally find the one we need. Those are the Mario ones, which is a little cursed, but whatever. This one, even in the game, I always thought was terrifying, but it's more terrifying here. That's a horror movie, or like a horror game model. Like if I went around a corner in a horror game and saw that, yeah, that would get me. Just this floating there, right? But anyway. That also, actually. But that's worse. That one's worse than that one, I think. And that one's supposed to be more creepy than that. Whatever, dude. Where are you? So we just gotta find... I have these, like, wooden frame glasses that'll probably be at the bottom. Yeah. The 3D glasses look a little strange. They're supposed to have, like, the lenses over them. I don't think any of the glasses models in this have the actual lenses over them. I don't know why. I think there's some like technical reason for that they can't do it that way. Transparency in models in this is very weird, so those are the ones that Carly uses. I used to use those too, actually. That's the ones I use. So these are the ones I use because they basically look like my glasses, but they're wooden. Yeah, dude, that's actually unsettling. It is. Oh yeah, I forgot there was like a Band-Aid thing. I don't even know if I have that in my actual inventory at the moment. So yeah, if this has any alternate colors, which I don't believe this one does, but if it does, it'll be in the body group, or in the skin, I should say. Oh yeah, there is. There's a darker one. That's the one that I use. That one. This one's easy. Same thing. Go to the head, drag it over, set it to 0, and there you go. It looks a little weird because it's just the angle, but it looks normal. There's my villager. Looks more and more accurate as we go. Realistically, I could add... Actually, I want to try this. This is something I want to do in Animal Crossing, but it doesn't let you do. There's like facial hair, which I don't actually know where it is. It might be in accessories. I don't actually know where that is, so that's actually more of a thing too that I want to know. Where is that mouth? Oh, it's all the mouth stuff. Right, I got you. Okay. Yeah, so there's his beard, but that's not what I want. I want the goatee. Yes, these two things, right? I've got a mustache. I've got like kind of a neck beard, realistically. But you know, I use the like little goatee thing in the game, but I can't use the mustache and the goatee at the same time. And now we have the power. We have the power to do both of these things. I have to color both of them, which is very, very helpful. Actually, that might not be true. They might have put them in the skins. I don't think so, though, because it looks like the hair. But you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to put these on without coloring them and see what it looks like. Screw it, right? Might as well find out. Let's load both these in. I'll just load both these in right now and apply them both. I hate that this keeps going back to the top of the menu. So like some days you'll open this program and it'll give you like the ability to just like, you know, resume where you left off, and then other days, I don't know if you heard that. That was a loud sneeze. But like other days it'll like not let you do that. Like today, it won't let us go back to where we need to be. I have to scroll back. Where is it? There it is. There's the goatee. All right. Oh god. It looks kind of cursed when it's over here, but anyway. Alright, let's put both these on. Close some of these models too, we don't need those. The mustache is always really big, I forget about that. But that's the best option, honestly. All the other mustaches look weird. This is kind of the smallest one. I think, anyway. They might have added a new one, but I don't think so. And let's add this one too. Let's make that visible. It's not terrible. It's not amazing, but it's more accurate. I think the mustache is... Here's something we could do. I don't know if this is going to work. This might be stupid. The mustache actually does look like it's too big, but anyway. What you can do to some models if you want to, I don't know if this is going to work well. You can actually go to, usually the root transform, and say add scale controls. You can scale stuff. You can make it monstrously huge, which for some reason doesn't actually seem to work. What? Huh. And maybe we can add it to this. Sometimes scale doesn't work. Oh, there we go. It'll usually make the position really weird, but we can make it giant, like that, and then just move it. Right? Here we go. Oops. Guys. Wilfred Brimley. You have to know who that is to get that, but there you go. That's the big old mustache that we like. Alright. Let's not do that. Oh yeah, reversing scale controls is really weird too. I want to make it smaller though. A little too big for me. There we go, that's better. There we go. That looks better. That's how it looks like in the game. At least what I thought. Maybe a little bigger than that. I think I might have made it a little too small, but still. It looks better than it did normally. I don't know why it was so big. Like, it's like that size. Like right around here. Yeah, it's like that size in the game. At least from what I remember. Eh, whatever. Right, we gotta try to position this right since it's kind of off. You kind of just have to try a bunch of stuff until you get it to where you want. There we go. Honestly, doesn't look too bad. I'm not going to change the size of the beard or the goatee just because of the angle of it. It's going to kind of mess with it. The mustache doesn't really have that problem. There you go. There's our villager a little bit better. And we got to change the color of this, but that's something you can't do in Animal Crossing. But hey, we have the advantage here to do that. That is the nice thing about using this, is you can kind of customize things a little bit more to make them a bit more accurate if you want. Both in Source Filmmaker and if you export it to something like Photoshop. You can kind of add any like weird like slight colors. Like if you have dyed hair or something like that, and say you have like, say one, like the bangs of my hair was like one color and the rest of my hair was black, I could do that in Photoshop. Actually, you can do that in Source Filmmaker too if you really want to get into technical stuff, but that's kind of hard to do. It's probably easier to just do it in Photoshop. But anyway, so, you know, that's some cool stuff you can do. But anyway, we got to add the colors to this. We've already done a few times, so we should be able to do this no problem. I say that as I don't put it in the element viewer. I don't remember the color value that we had. Oh no, never mind. I do remember it. I'm not dumb. Not yet, or not fully. Whoop, that's wrong. Never mind, it's fine. Oh, one of them gets reset to 4, or 4 for some reason. Whatever. I remembered. It's good, we're fine. It looks a little weird with the beard now, or the goatee, whatever. But we'll fix that. We'll fix it. It's fine. Don't worry about it. A lot of this program, at least when you're making like these kind of Animal Crossing villagers, is literally just, you know, working on getting things the right color and everything, and like getting everything set up properly, because we still haven't got to the clothes yet. That's what we're going to do next though. We're going to do that. We're getting to the clothes now. The clothes are kind of weird, right? I'm also going to save this. We haven't saved in a while. We don't want to lose our progress. We put so much into this without even posing yet. It takes a little while to set up the dude, but I want to have this here too, just to kind of show you there's a lot of setup. It's the more uninteresting part of this, but at the same time, you know, if you take your time with this kind of thing and setting up everything, then you'll be more thankful later. And it'll be a lot easier to do the fun part, where it's like posing and doing lighting and stuff. So yeah. So for clothing, it's a little weird. I haven't actually decided on what the clothes will be. I think I know. There's one called a simple parka. Because here's the thing, my villager wears like a custom design, which obviously I don't have in here. So I'm just going to use the actual built-in clothing. And I usually wear the simple parka, which I believe uses... Here's the base models for the clothes. And then the different types of clothes use like their associated texture. And then they also have a bump map to like kind of give a bit of depth to the texture as well. So they don't have to make a unique model for every piece of clothing unless it's like super unique. So the simple parka should be this one right here. And that there Again, this is left to right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, and 10. That is outer, apparently. Number 10 is outer, which would technically be number 9 because they sort by 0. So number 9, aka number 10, is outer. This is what we want. And then it also explains here to make sure. Rib is longer than outer, and you can wear pants with outer. But where's rib? I guess it's this one? I don't know. They have weird names. I believe all these file names are actually based off of the in-game file names of Animal Crossing. So, blame Nintendo. Don't blame this dude. So anyway, so we're going for outer. So we want to, so these are all for the villagers. As you can see, close villagers, ACNH. We want to go to humans and then go to close here. Let me just look for the associated name, and there's outer L and outer N. Outer N has short sleeves, outer L has long sleeves. We want long sleeves. That's a detail that's specified in that little thing. Here it is, very simple. That's all it is. These are the same models that you can use. A few of these models are the exact same as the ones in the custom designs, by the way. I believe this is the same one for the hoodie design, which is what I'm wearing on my villager now in the game, but obviously a custom design that is not here. So, same thing for this. To apply this is we want to get this shirt. We just want to, well, pelvis is like the root of the torso area, so we want to apply that one first, and then we just want to lock all the other ones. Oops, I put that in the wrong spot. What? What happened? Oh, I see. I locked it to itself. That's not a good idea. Oopsie. What did I do? Why is that not working? Oh, that's the wrong model. Dummy. There we go. There we are. So now it's applied. Looks good, looks good, looks good. Obviously no texture yet, but we're getting there. We're getting there. Don't worry. We're getting there. So we're just going to lock all the other things too. I can't read this, so I'm just going to extend this really quick so I can see the right ones. It's good to lock any clothing just because of the fact that clothing will move quite a bit with the body. And we'll lock the root too, why not? Just because we're here. Alright, so there we go. So that's our torso piece. And I'm going to put the right model on now. I believe the model I use is the simple shorts. Something shorts. I believe it's this model here, the first one, the pants half. I believe that's the one that it uses, but I'm not quite sure. So what I'm going to do, because I'm not sure, is there is a thing here, right here. It's this. If we go here, I'm just going to open Chrome. I'm going to make things kind of glitch out a little bit. But don't worry about that. So there's this spreadsheet. Literally, you have to go to spreadsheets for this. There's literally the spreadsheet where you have to like figure out where to go. So we have bottoms. And then they have every single piece of pants. And at the end, they have like the model it uses. Where is it? Oh, do they not have the model for it? I thought they did. Do they not actually have the model for these? They do for the tops. Apparently they don't have the model for this one. Oh yeah, it's in the file name, that's why. Pants half. So it's pants half for these. Pants normal. All that kind of stuff. So it's in the file name. So you can actually literally find it. So you just have to find the one, and it has pictures, luckily. Thank God. I used to use these ones with the stripe, but that's not the one I use now. So I gotta find the one that I do use. I used to use these too. But I gotta find the real ones I use. They're literally just one color. I'm gonna scroll and try to find those. I forget what they're called. They're literally like simple shorts, but I don't think that's the name. Seems too simple. Literally too simple. Oh yeah, dotted shorts. Yeah, dude. Now, the ones I use, I believe, I can find them. Still not finding them. Formal shorts, no, not those either. Luckily they put every color there too, because sometimes they could trip you up. They don't have the color that you're trying to like look for too. I'm thankful they have them all there. It's actually important too because each color is its own texture, and I'll show you what that means in a second. Oh, I thought it was the multicolor. The outdoor shorts, that's what it is. I am right about the model, I believe, though. I believe it is pants half. So here's the model here. These are the shorts I use, these outdoor shorts. So let's go for, okay, so it's pants half. That's the file name. Oh, and it's literally just outdoor one. That's actually a pretty simple texture. We are going to need to come back here for the top as well, just to get the right one. I do believe I have the right model, hopefully. If not, we can get the right one, but yeah, anyway, so we're gonna go here. I'm gonna go to model. And we're gonna get pants half. All right, pants half, there they are. Nice. It had to put it right there, right smack dab in the middle of the camera. That's fine. There we go. So there's the shorts. Again, very white clothing, but we'll fix that soon. Hopefully. Anyway, the main part of these is we have to get the legs applied right. And actually, we didn't lock the arms of the body or the shirt, so we'll do that too in a second because that's important as well. Let's do the legs of this right as we have to kind of do that. Usually it's only the hip and the knee, which it is for this. Yep. R and knee R. Yeah, just locking all these is, again, important because if you move the arms and they're not locked, then the arms of the model aren't going to move. Obviously, pretty simple understanding. The unknown category is usually just specific things to the model, so we don't need to lock those. That's fine. Don't worry about that. This one doesn't need the hand because there's no hand to this model. And there we go. Now it's all locked. So if we move this arm and rotate it, the shirt should move too. There we go. Shirt moves with it. All good. I should move it this way just to show. There we go. Hello. Okay, so now that we have that, we have to apply the textures. Actually, let's do the shoes too, since we're here. The shoes are easy because the shoes we can also look at without much trouble, so might as well do that since we're here. The last thing we'll end with is getting these textures on, which is a pain sometimes, I have to say. So shoes are in their own category. I don't know what shoes I've used, so I'm just going to kind of go through until I find ones I like. I think I use these like kind of like sneaker ones, but I don't know what color, and I don't know. I cut rubber shoes. I think it was these ones. I think it's this one. It's just not this color. But I think if this can change to the color I think they're supposed to be, then we got it. Not that. Whoa. That? Oh, it is that. These like really dark black shoes. Yeah, that's the color. Okay, cool. Good thing I went to the last one and didn't go through all of them. Otherwise, I would have been very annoyed. All right. Well, let's do that then. Back to the pelvis. Unlock the roots. And the legs as well. That's the most important part with the shoes, of course. Literally everything for the... Oops. Everything for the shoes on the legs need to be applied just because they're connected to the bottom bone. So you need to make sure that No matter what bone you move, it's still going to move with it. But the shorts don't go all the way down to the feet, so that's why you don't need the foot bone, because it's like if you move the foot, the shorts do not need to move. And that doesn't matter. So, okay, cool. There you go. Now we can apply the textures. We're almost there, everybody. We're almost there. I almost have everything on my villager. Almost. I think I have a backpack too, but I think the bags... I forgot about the backpack. I think the bags are also the same way. I don't think we have to apply a texture to the bag. I think the bags are literally... Yep, they're the same. I'm thankful that most of these are just like these models. I do like the bat wings, but I don't use those now. I use the kind of... Actually, we should turn it this way. That's the way you see the backpack. I use the like really big, like long... like hiking backpack, if you will. I don't know what they call it. Travel bag? No. I don't know what they call it. Outdoorsy backpack, probably. Yes, the tool bag. We'll do the tool bag. Oh, it wasn't there. Wait, what? Did we go past it? Was it like the first one and I accidentally went past it? I didn't see the one I used. Huh? Oh, I did go by it. It's that one. Wrong color, but we can change it. I believe it'll be the last color, because usually that's the way it works. No, it is not the last color. Is it 1? Nope, it is neither of those. Guess it's 2. Nice. The black backpack. You might tell that I really like the color black for most things. Okay, so let us get this applied to the right spot once again. A lot of models here, holy. A lot more than Carly's. Carly's is usually like 3 models and then you're good. Actually, not even, because usually she'll use like a full body sort of piece of clothing, which is like only 1 model because of that. But never mind, actually. Oh, it only applies to the spine. That's very interesting. Hope we can just do that. Surprised it doesn't apply to the pelvis. That's very rare. Very rare that that doesn't do that. The arms. Oh, just because it's the straps. I see. I was like, why is it attached to the arms? It's a backpack. Does not go around the arms, but there we go. Okay, cool. So we have a backpack too. How about that? I'm gonna hide the backpack for now, just because I want to get the texture on this, and I want to be able to. Whoops! I want to be able to see the model. Okay, so this part's gonna be a little bit more convoluted. So I'm gonna do the shorts first, just because we already have it open on the browser. So you have to, again, we'll add override materials. And we'll open it in our element viewer, but we have to do it a little bit different. And I forget, I think it's a string. So it's kind of convoluted. So you need to make sure that you have the right element that we're adding. So like when we did color, we just added color. But when it's a texture, you have to make sure it's the right one, because there's multiple ones you can use, change the texture, but they do different things. Very confusing. Even then, I don't know the best way to explain it, so I'm not really going to bother because I don't particularly know. But you just have to make sure you use the right one. Typically, it's the string element that you use, but not all the time. So, you know, either way. So we want outdoor 1. So we want bottoms, text, pants, that. We actually want to just copy that. We'll just copy that, literally. Actually, not quite. I think we do need to change the name of the texture, but we'll see. Okay, so basically... we go here, we go to materials. Let me go to this thing real quick just to make sure, because I think it says what element you have to use, I believe. Yeah, it is a string, okay. So we basically need to put in the right texture name, which is convoluted. Usually it is the name and the model and that, but the thing is, even though the file name is here and the file name is usually pretty close, You can't always trust it. The way you really have to go by it is the guy that makes this literally made like a thing that has all the textures in the same folders, just like separated so that you can literally download it and then go through yourself. Literally, it's like here, and you have to like, okay, so we want bottoms, so let's go to bottoms, and then here's all the textures. Now you have to find it. It should be pretty similar to the one in the in this. It should be bottoms, the TAX pants outdoor. So it should just be outdoor. Should just start at outdoor. So we should be able to go all the way down to O, and there's a lot of textures in here because it's every single pant texture and color. We should just be able to go to O, and there you go. There's outdoor. There's outdoor 1. So literally, it should just be outdoor half D. Now here's the other problem. Do this where you literally just copy the file name from the file rather than typing it into SFM, because SFM is glitchy and it doesn't like you typing into it. So don't do that. But yeah, so we have to add the attribute string and then go base texture like this, which is already complicated. And now you can see that the texture is wrong. On top of this, we'll actually have to have this file name and copy it again because we actually have to put in the path for where the texture is. So we need to like bottoms, we need to go models, cat crate 777, Animal Crossing clothes textures / bottoms / file name. You know what I mean? It's a little weird. So you got to paste that all in and then put a / and then only then can you go to the texture and then go to rename, copy the name of it and paste it in. And now the texture is applied. This is the most convoluted part of the whole thing, but there you go. The texture is applied. It's dark again, of course, so it's hard to tell that it's the texture, but it's the texture. If it wasn't the texture, it would still be the purple check marks. So don't worry, it's fine. We got it. It's all good. It's not really hard to apply. It's just hard to figure out where the texture is and like getting it in. If you try to type that, anytime you type caps, it will lock you out of it because shift does something else. So you have to like paste the lines in. Very annoying. But there you go. But we're not done. We're not done. We have to apply the normal map. So to do that, I believe, I forget what the string is, bump map. Sorry, bump map, normal map, whatever. Bump map, that's what we want. We want that, and that has to be a string too. So we're not done. You have to add the attribute, and this just kind of adds a little bit of depth to the texture if there is any. Otherwise, your texture is just flat. So if there's any like strings on it or something, that usually would have a little bit of depth to it. You have to go to string, go back here, $ bump map, like so. And you can see it'll become shiny because it's looking for a bump map, but there's nothing. So that's the bump map now on the and it looks kind of weird. Hey, if you want shiny pants though, that's the way to do it. Not really, but it kind of works. So we're going for this. Everything has a normal, you'll see. Normal N. This is what we want. I believe the path is the same, other than the fact that it's that. So literally you could copy all of this string, other than the model name, paste that in, once again, and then just put in the file name of this. And it doesn't really look like this one has much of a normal map to it at all. If you open this, there probably isn't much in it at all. I don't even see anything. I don't even think this one has a normal map. But for the benefit of the doubt, I'm going to copy it anyway. Some don't have it, but they have a texture still. But whatever, I'll apply it just for the safety of it. It doesn't look any different, but you know, whatever. But there you go. That's the shorts. We have to do this again. You have to do it for the sweater. I also didn't realize the music just left. Why does my music leave all the time? I have like 3 hours of music, and it ends every time. I swear. There's something. I didn't realize. My music's very low, so I can't usually hear it, so apologies. Anyway. Alright, so. We did that. We gotta do it one more time for that. Let's save for now so we don't lose that progress. Because you see how long that took. It took forever. But anyway, so let's add our override materials, open our shirt in the element viewer, and do the same thing we did. Mind you, the path name will be a little different, but it's generally the same. Here's the thing. Let's go back to our spreadsheet. And we gotta find the right one. Now, there's a lot more tops in this game than other things, so it might take a while to find this. But I believe it's called Simple Parka, so I should be able to just go all the way down to S, since I know it's called Simple Parka. We should be able to save a little bit of time. Am I right? There it is, Simple Parka. And the first texture is black, very convenient. There it is, outer L, which is what we picked, so I guessed right, but if we didn't want to guess, it says it right here. Hard to see, but it says outer L. And Parka 7. Parka 7 for black. So it actually isn't the first texture, but they just put it as the first one in this list. Okay, fine. The Parka 7, that is the texture. So, if we learned anything from the first thing we did, that's how that should work for this one. So let's do that. Alright, cool. And we'll just copy the string from the theme as well again. Because luckily there's no specific attributes in the string to your own machine, which is very convenient. It kind of assumes you're already looking in the Steam or like the internal folders and stuff, which is very nice. What was it called? It was called Parka, was it not? It was called Parka, so actually we're too far. We have to go up to Parka. I was not paying attention. We went past it. Parka, there we go. And Parka 7. As you can see, Parka 7 is right. Take a quick drink, by the way. Oh. Pardon my question if it's uber ignorant, but will you be able to use this little guy in ACNH? No. This is like specifically for art purposes. For the most part, though, the only reason we can't use this guy in ACNH is just because of the mustache and the like goatee. That's really it. If you have all the other items, then you should be able to use it. The only reason we can't do it because of the mustache and goatee is because it doesn't let you equip both of those because they use the same slot. But if you just choose one of those, we could. This is based off of my normal villager. I mean, everything else here basically works. But this like specific process, no. It's a lot easier to make a villager in Animal Crossing specifically anyway. But the nice thing about this is that if you're doing it for art purposes, you can do any lighting, any poses that you want. M. Tolley, welcome to the cult we have here. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. And thanks for being around. And I hope you're enjoying what we're doing so far. We're almost done putting our villager together, which is very nice. We just have to get this texture on. So where was that texture string? Did we go past it? No. Yes, maybe. Oh, there it is. There's tops. We'll just copy this as well. Boop. There we go. Nice. Okay, so literally the same thing as what we did before. I just need to do it so that we have it. I don't know why this string is called base texture, by the way. I don't think there is a string called texture. So it seems almost redundant, but I'm not going to question it too much. Alright, and then let's just copy our... I don't want to open it. Sometimes it just won't let you rename unless you do it that way. Oh well. Alright, let's pop that on, and we should have our texture. Boom, bam. Hey, look at that. That one's a little bit more obvious because we can at least see the strings on this one. It is very dark, but we are going to be adding some lights and stuff. This room is kind of... It has lighting in it. There is a version of this map that somebody made that gets rid of all the lights if you want to do all the lighting yourself. Not usually needed. This light's so dim in this like map already that you can kind of just do your own lighting, and you know, nobody's going to think twice about the like few lights that are in here. So I don't think it's really needed. It's a cool map to have for like really dark lighting if you're doing that, but this map's fine, especially for Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing lighting, in my experience, is usually always like super bright. Usually just spam lights everywhere and eventually you'll get it. Not quite like that, but almost. It feels like you have to add like 15 lights before it gets that like Animal Crossing glow. If you've seen some Animal Crossing art, you will know what I mean. Like actual official Nintendo stuff. Just has that, I don't know, literally glow. I already said it perfectly. It's very strange. Ooh, Parka Rib L. Oh right, I forgot that the Parka has like a version that uses that rib texture too. It's kind of the no sleeve one, egg-shaped clothing. I never liked that one. I don't like the ones that have no sleeves. I was never a fan. Just looks weird to me. I don't think I've ever seen anybody with a villager that's had that on and it looked decent. I've only ever seen people use that like sleeveless one as a joke. There we go, there's the normal map. The normal map you're really not going to notice too much outside of when you initially or like actually render it. I'm trying to kind of show somewhere that might... I don't even know if that one had a normal map either. I closed it, but that one might not have even had a normal map either. Honestly, probably not. It might just be for the pocket. It looks like the pocket might be a little... You might see a little bit of the depth of the pocket, but honestly... The normal maps are usually, or the bump maps, if you will, are... doesn't really matter, it's kind of the same thing. They're usually pretty subtle anyway, if something has one. So, whatever. But you might as well apply it, just because... Alright, so, there's that. There's our villager. Oh, our backpack. Our backpack. We need to put the backpack. Backpack, backpack. There's a backpack. Nice. There he is. There's our dude. We're ready. We're prepared. We can pose now. Now, I haven't decided on the pose. Well, I kind of have. I wanted to mimic my profile picture that I use here on Twitch, on Twitter, on YouTube, all that kind of stuff. I want to do that. It's going to be a pretty close-up shot because of that. But what we can do is we can save this as its own project, and then we can use this again, which is very convenient. That's what we're going to do. There's the ones for Carly there. Really go riskRED Animal Crossing poster template. Now what'll probably happen is the first time we save this, well, we'll see. Let's save it again. Yeah, it's kind of weird. It saves like a new project when you do save as, which is very weird. A lot of programs don't do... If you do like save as, then the project you're working on actively is like the project that you saved as. But like this uses it in a way where like you save as and then you save a separate project and then you're still working in the same one, which is very odd. So just a little tip if you're somebody who wants to do Source Filmmaker. That's how it saves files. Kind of reverse Photoshop saving. Photoshop saving's weird too, because apparently now you have to say save as copy. Save anything outside of like a PSD file. If you want to save like a JPEG, you have to say save a copy, not just save. Which is strange. Or sorry, as save as, I guess. Okay, so let's edit this camera a little bit, I think, now. I want to get the focal distance to the right thing. So that's what the pink kind of plane does. It intersects with like your head or your model or whatever. And then when it intersects, that's where the focus is. So we want to put it roughly there. Maybe like there. And then we can set our aperture real high if we want. We don't really have to. There's not much that's going to be in this picture, but we can do that. I'll show you how it works. We won't see that effect yet. Also, I'm going to show you, this is the perfect time to do some ambient occlusion stuff. If you go to render settings, you can basically apply some settings to make it look a little bit nicer. Now, because we're not making a video, we don't need motion blur, so turn that off. Up the field, we're going to crank it right up to the max, because it looks good. Ambient occlusion, you can either do ambient occlusion only. You can add an outline that looks like cell shading, if you've ever seen that kind of Borderlands style sort of thing. Or you can do ambient occlusion with the outline. Typically you want AO only, because the outline looks a little funky, as you can see. A little weird. It doesn't look terrible in the Animal Crossing villager, honestly. Actually kind of looks cool. Then AO outline is very strange. That is very Borderlands. Borderlands has both. But yeah, we usually want just ambient occlusion. But you can also say show just ambient occlusion. So there's what it looks like. You can kind of see where it's affecting in the model. Very interesting. Very interesting. The clothes are kind of weird. The clothes kind of disappear in the model, as you can see. Our shorts and stuff are gone now. Mostly because clothes don't actually have any ambient occlusion, which is just the way they work in Animal Crossing, actually. Because if it did have ambient occlusion on some of the clothing, it would make your villager look very dark, so they just don't have it. But any of the like backpacks or glasses actually do, because they're so small that they never actually like really cover up your villager with a bunch of shadows, typically. So, weird choice, but that's how that works. It sometimes, for posters, affects things. For example, I'm going to go back really quick to that one image that I showed you guys of Carly, of the art that I made for Carly, that she uses for her Instagram right now. Where did I put it? That's the other problem. I have tons of crap in these folders. There we go. There's a lot of weird stuff. There's my dad. Wow. Here's the stuff. I guess I'm showing this now, but whatever. Here's this, right? Oh, this is the worst version. This is the better one. So here's an area where ambient occlusion sucked. So you see how there's a bit of shadow on her villager's face, right? All that kind of stuff. You can see there's a bit of ambient occlusion on, Jingle, but Ricardo, if you watch your streams. So there's a bit of shadow on her hand to kind of, show that Jingle is on her hand. But there was no ambient occlusion on this shirt. So because of that, there was no shadow here. So I had to add that manually. So there are some stuff you have to do later to polish. Now you could add ambient occlusion to the model, but it just takes time. I tried to do it to this model, but it was really glitchy because it didn't have actual ambient occlusion data in the file. So when I turned it on, it just kind of messed it up really badly. You can fix that, but then you have to go into texture files, which are their own primitive file type, and you need to get the right software to go inside of the texture file, and then you need to be able to edit the texture properly, which has its own weird properties. It's a lot of work for a very simple thing. So hey, I only needed a shadow in one place. Why not just add it manually? It was a lot quicker to do. So if you really need that actual ambient occlusion, we don't on my villager, because there's literally nothing that needs it really in this clothing, because all the clothing has closed sleeves and everything, so we're fine. But yeah, the shorts maybe, but I don't really care too much, honestly. And in this picture it's not going to matter. It's not even in it. Oh, look at the file name. If you didn't notice that, now we're working in the template file for some reason. Source Filmmaker does that too. Sometimes it'll just launch you to the other project file randomly. Whatever. So the template will be our working project now. It sometimes does that. It won't go back now, but sometimes it does that. You know how I said that it'll save it as a separate thing? I forgot to mention, sometimes it'll just decide to actually do it the right way. Source jank. That's something that if you aren't part of the Source Engine community and know about the Source Engine, now you know that term. Source Engine jank. Or weirdness, or whatever. People say different things. I say Source Engine jank because it's weird. It's a janky program. Alright, anyway, let's get into some ambient occlusion. So, we have these three sliders. We have bias, strength, and radius. So bias, basically, the higher we slide it, the more it will ignore. It's like the threshold, right? So if we set this higher, it's only going to affect some models that have more ambient occlusion, right? So if we drag this higher, you can see that the goatee doesn't really have it anymore, right? Because it was pretty subtle, and you can see on the hands it kind of goes away, but it's still on the backpack and the glasses because it has a lot of ambient occlusion, but it gets darker. There's it all the way to max, there's without it. So you can see how it kind of simplifies it. I like to simplify it so that like small things like this, like the goatee, aren't really there. So this is too much. So somewhere around there is roughly where I would probably put it. Kind of half for this. It's not always just, hey, set it to half for everything. It depends on the model, because some models have different ways they interact with ambient occlusion. TF2 models have very like weird polygons, so if you set it too low, you'll actually see shadows in between the polygons. Like, it's very weird, and it'll really define the polygons and make it look really weird, and it'll get rid of that smooth effect to the model. So you have to set the bias a little bit higher for a TF2 model. Now you can see that when we went to the workshop, somebody made a Scout high poly version, so that version probably works really well, and is probably a really nice model. I don't know, never used it. There are some high poly models I used. I think I have a high poly one of the heavy. And that one looks really good, so that's a thing. Strength, obviously, that one's kind of to assume. If we set it high, it's going to be really strong. It will add more around the model and the edge of your actual model because it assumes the edge is a shadow. Usually you want to set this so that the edge has no shadow, and then just go from there. I usually like to set this a little bit weaker for an Animal Crossing model. I usually like to set it about there at the most, maybe even a little bit weaker. Maybe even there, but I'm going to set it, I think there. Maybe a little bit higher, like that. That seems about good for this model. And then radius will just kind of scatter the shadow more, so that's more direct, see? Like it's really sharp shadows, and then this is really like kind of diffused shadows. I usually kind of just set it in the middle. I'm not really going to change it much. I think I'm going to make it a little bit softer, just because it's Animal Crossing. And Animal Crossing is kind of a softer shadow type thing. I'm going to set it to about there. Now when we go back to our render settings and we set this, we're not going to see too much in the effects, but if we go to our timeline, you're going to see that it's rendered a lot smoother. See? Looks a lot smoother, a lot nicer. And yeah, it was pretty cool. Now obviously we're going to add some lighting, which is going to change how the shadows are affected as well. That does change the ambient occlusion. It'll just kind of change. Like if something's in a lot of light, the ambient occlusion is obviously not going to be strong if even present. Because ambient occlusion reacts like any normal shadow. So yeah, anyway, so let's start posing our dude friend man. So I'm not going to go too complex on this. Realistically, our villager's just going to be doing, well, let's bring this up. Let's bring this up real quick. Let me see if I can find this. I'm going to bring up my avatar picture that I'm using right now. Whoa. I have a bunch of different versions of it, so I have to kind of see where it is. There it is. There's the picture. So that's what I'm using, right? There's me, but drawn, because I'm a cartoon. Wow. So there I am, right? So we want to make this look like that. So let's think about the posing of this, right? So I'm kind of off to the side, looking like this, looking at the camera, all dark and gloomy. Because I'm serious. So we basically are just going to turn our villager and kind of turn the head on a tilt angle and then towards that way, right? And I'm literally showing you as if you've ever gone for like school pictures. If you've ever gotten a school picture, whenever they're like, okay, you gotta look, okay, and then the person grabs your head like really strong and it's like, just, you know, tilt it that way. That's what I'm doing. Literally tilt it that way, maybe a little bit more, maybe like that, kind of like that. I'm tilting up, kind of ahead to you, something like that, right? Like that kind of side eye. Obviously this looks a little bit different because I drew it, so the pose might be off a little bit, but it was based off a photo. But that's what we're going to do with this guy. I thought about redrawing it in this style too. I don't know if I'll go that far. I don't have my iPad up here right now, so I don't think we're going to be doing that. But there's already a lot we're going over here, so I don't want to overcomplicate things. Also, if I was to do it this way, I wouldn't need to do any lighting in this, which I want to do because I think it's important. So there's that. So let's just kind of make something similar. It might not be exactly the same, but it'll be something. So we literally only need to move our base model because we locked everything. We won't need to do anything else. So I'm literally just going to move the root transform of our dude, which will turn our whole guy over. We rotate, we'll just do this. There we go. That's about the angle. Look at this again. Yeah, it's not much. It's like that. So there's that. The arms, for me, are clearly both down at the side. So that's simple. This is not a complicated pose, really. And what you'll notice from doing a lot of poses too, by the way, is you'll notice that most poses are not complicated. Actually, it's kind of handbrake. I'm actually going to add a light. It's just kind of hard to see. It's kind of dark with all these textures. But here's a bright light. Lights, like models, are put directly in front of the camera, so you immediately get blinded by a light. Guys, we did it. We did it. We lit the picture. Everything looks fantastic. It's so good. All right, let's move this light. I'm gonna move the light over here. I'm gonna move the. Somebody's at my doorbell. I don't know if you guys. It's perfect. I know. It's great. It's still kind of bright. I'm gonna move it kind of over here because I just want a general light right now. So all I'm gonna do, and we'll go over these parameters really quick after, but right now I'm not gonna worry about it too much. But I just want a general light to be able to see some stuff. So that's why I'm doing it like this. There we go. That's a little bit better. I might add a second light just so we can see while we're working. And then we'll change these lights after. Actually, this will be helpful too, because we'll be able to modify these lights without having to spawn them in, which will be nice. Let's do that. I'm gonna get this over here so we can get this side of the face in a little bit. Like that. These are just our temporary lights for right now. There we go. Alright, there we are. And honestly, that doesn't look terrible, just with putting those lights there. Also, I have to set the bloom scale. Second. My mouth was a bit dry. I was like, no thanks, I'm not going to do that. Okay. I want to set the bloom scale, by the way. If you look here, it's very hard to see, but there's a slight glow to the skin. I don't want that. I want to just turn the bloom scale literally all the way down. Now it's not there at all. So when we go back here, you're going to see there's no glow at all. Like, obviously there's some lighting on his face, but there's no like glow coming off. And you want to make sure to do that if you're going to use a green screen, which we are going to do. I'm going to add the background in later. Alright, so Now that we can see a little bit, I can see kind of the texture of the sweater and everything, which is what I want to do. You kind of want to make sure that you can do that just if you're working with something that's like a dark texture like this, so that you can make sure that there's no part of your model that's like weirdly clipping or something. You can fix those errors, excuse me, you can fix those errors a little bit in, you know, doing stuff in Photoshop, but you want to try to minimize those errors as much as possible. That is the shirt specifically. There we go. So I'm just going to kind of do something like this. And the Animal Crossing villagers typically don't have their arm too... Oop, that's not what I wanted. I wanted this upper arm. I'm hitting the wrong bones. The Animal Crossing villagers usually have their arms pretty far down like this. I'm just going to do that. They usually have their arms kind of out like that. I'm going to kind of go with that. There's kind of this balance that we're going to be doing where I'm trying to like keep in that Animal Crossing style without doing things too weirdly different. You know what I mean? We're still trying to like apply it to the picture that we're mocking this off of. So that looks good. That's kind of an Animal Crossing pose. A pose, if you will, if you are in some sort of animation. So, okay. What I'm going to do here now, we're going to move the head. And a lot of times when I'm doing like a head, I usually just use the main things. How you doing? It's always fun to kind of mess around with the head too, just like, yup. Hey, do you like this artwork so far? Yup. Okay. So, back to this picture. So that's what we're doing. So again, this is probably, if I had to assume, this is going to be down and to the side a little bit. So this is going to go away. Down. Maybe a little bit of tilt like this. Tilt this way. You can't really make the villager look specifically at the camera. You can kind of try, but it doesn't really work that way. Kind of like that, right? And we're looking at this camera, kind of apply it. That's not far off. That's not far off. Obviously, there's differences in terms of the hair. I have more forehead than my villager does. Whatever, that's fine. Big ol' forehead. And obviously, mustache and stuff. Not quite the same, but you gotta just look at the pose. That's the only thing that matters. There's that. And honestly, not bad. I think the heads might be tilted a little bit more this way. Just like this. A little bit. Let's try that again. Yeah, that's a little bit closer. And I honestly don't hate that. I don't think we really need to change the pose too much. The only thing I'm going to say is that I might want to change the spine and like the pelvis, because if you look at this, I'm kind of leaning into it a little bit. It's kind of a lean. You can kind of just assume based on the picture. Obviously, you can't see the rest of the body, but you can see there's kind of a direction kind of curving up this way, right? We don't really have that in this. It's kind of straight body and then the head's just kind of tilted, which, you know, nothing wrong with that. But the spine real straight. So I want to change that too. Woo, the head. Because of that, we're going to have to change the head position a little bit and other body positions, because whenever we move this is going to move the rest of the body. Woo! So we're going to have to change some of that. So I would probably do a little bit of this, maybe a little bit more tilting this way. I might tilt the spine a little to the side. You got to think a little bit realistically in terms of how the body moves too, because obviously I would not bend my spine like this. I could try it. I don't think I would want to do that. But it's an option. But there's that, right? And that really didn't change too much. I'm going to move the position of our villager a little bit, and I'm going to move the head up a little bit too, just to get him in the center of the camera. We'll change the view of the camera soon. Probably zoom it in a little bit, or move it in actually. Usually you want to move the camera, not just zoom with the field view slider, because you want to kind of, if possible, stay true to one of the lens types, just because it'll look better for posters. Because people are kind of used to the field of view of a lens when it comes to posters and stuff. It's kind of a subconscious thing for a lot of people. For like film people and stuff, or people that know photography, they, obviously know it a little bit more true and, near and dear to their hearts because it's something they need to know. But for the average person, they're not going to know specifically, but if it looks kind of like a weird field of view, they're going to be like, that looks weird. It definitely can change a lot of things. If you've seen a picture with like a weird field of view, I'll show you actually. I think I have an example to show you this. But like the Carly art that I showed you, I'm not going to bring that up again, but that looked like fairly normal, right? Other artwork I have, let's see if I can find some stuff. Oh, here's a great example. Oh, perfect example. As much as this posing looks kind of interesting, this is really old stuff that I did. As much as the posing's not terrible, it looked kind of weird. There's no like focus, and like the view looks really wide and stuff, and it just doesn't look right? And the lighting's bad too, because I did like no lighting, but ignore that. That's all map lighting. But like, there's so much focus or so much around the subject here. And obviously I was trying to keep this as like a wallpaper, because I liked making a lot of art as a wallpaper. I wouldn't use this as a wallpaper ever, but maybe you would, I don't know. But there's a lot of like free space, right? And you could have zoomed this in a bit more to maybe crop off a little bit of this top room, maybe, still zoomed it out, but just had it more flat. If you've ever seen those, and we have Chrome open, so let me see if I can find this. Hold on. Like lens type if. Yeah, here it is. Perfect. This is exactly what I wanted to find. This exact thing. This. Have you ever seen this? Look at this. Isn't that weird? This is like different distances, but they try to keep the person in the same distance. They're just changing lens types. And you can see how the distortion of the lens changes like the perspective of how this person's face like looks. Like when it starts out, his face is like kind of pointed, and then when it goes to like higher lenses, it looks flatter. Yeah, that's a thing. This is a thing that happens. Like, it's really particular. Like, depending on the lens you have, it's going to change how a picture looks. So typically, my advice for a person or a portrait thing is you want to go for like if it's going to be a close-up thing for like a profile picture, it makes sense, but wow, it's trippy. It is trippy. It's really weird. And that's why, if you've ever seen in like Jaws, and I'm not going to show it because copyright and stuff, but in Jaws, there's that effect. They do it a couple times in the movie. They've done it in a few movies too. You might have know the shot, when somebody's like surprised or like something's coming at them, and like it kind of goes closer to their face, but the background kind of like zooms in the opposite direction. You get that kind of like stretching, warping effect where it's like, and it's like really trippy. That's what they're doing. It's a little bit different than that, but they get like a lens that can change its field of view, basically a zoom lens, and they're going in the opposite direction of their zoom. And that makes this effect really quick. That's how they do that effect in a movie. It's the same thing as this. Because all this is just different pictures, but the camera's at different distances, and then they're just zooming in to get the same position. And so it's the exact same effect for that. They call it the dolly zoom, because the dolly means they're moving the camera forward or back. And so they're zooming in the opposite direction of the camera moving. But it's a cool effect, for sure. I think Jaws was kind of the first big thing that really used that effect. I'm sure it existed before, but that's generally what that is. So, again, my advice on like a profile picture or something like, you know, a general portrait is probably like a 50mm lens, which is pretty close. The higher the number, the closer it's going to be, by the way. Just general thing. Or at least the wider it's going to be. It's kind of specific on how to explain a lens. But like if I go to the camera here and I say, well, we're at 50. If I go to 85, it's going to be closer, right? It's a much more narrow lens. If I go to like 10.8, woo, that's a wide one. Probably wouldn't use that for a profile picture. Because if I want to get close enough for this, wait until you see this. Wait. This is gonna look ridiculous. I didn't even think this through, but hold on. Woo! Look at that. Nice profile picture, dude. That's like the fisheye effect, almost. Like a fisheye lens where they like really distort it so you get that like huge bulge effect, but you can see tons. But hey, you can do it in this, if that's what you're going for. But 50 is generally what I would advise. That's typically what I use. 35 can work too, if you're getting for more stuff. I mean, that could be cool, right? Yeah, people use it all the time. Like fisheye lens and stuff like that, where they have that really big wide angle, and it's like super distorted, but like it gets tons of stuff in. They use that all the time for skateboarding videos, because it gets like the whole scene in. It gets the ground and the walls, and you can really see everything happening. And it just became a staple of like skateboarding and stuff because it was really useful for that. Obviously, with more modern cameras now, you're going to have things where people can have that wide view. Well, usually what a modern camera will do now for a wide angle lens is it will actually have a sensor in the camera where it will stretch it and do the same thing as like old skateboarder videos where they have that fisheye lens and it has that kind of round circle distortion, but the sensor is bigger than what it captures. So it like, what's the best way to explain it? So like imagine a circle, right? Like you're imagining I don't know the best way to explain this, but like you have a circle and then imagine putting a rectangle inside the circle. That's like what a modern camera does, so they can get that wide angle lens, but it cuts off all the distortion on the edges. And, you know, with cameras improving and everything, they can make those sensors. So like a 4K camera with a wide angle lens, realistically, is almost probably like a 6K sort of camera, or like a 5K even, if they are really good at fixing the distortion on the lens. But they zoom in past the distortion as minimalistically as they can, so they still get that wide view. And then they make it like 4K there. So that's how cameras like kind of work now. It more convoluted than that, but that's like the simplest way to explain it. So either way, that's super technical, but that's just weird stuff about cameras. I know stuff about cameras, film and stuff. That's my college education, so there you go. But yeah, so either way, I would say typically 50 for a picture like this. 85 you could do if you zoomed it out. Like, we could probably do this. My only thing with Source Filmmaker is that the focal distance only goes so far. So with 85, probably not going to get far enough with the focal distance. That's why I say 50. I appreciate the TLDR explanation. I mean, it's kind of TLDR. Kind of going into more detail that I probably should, but regardless, that is how modern cameras work with that kind of thing. Obviously, in software here, we're not having that problem, really. I think the pose, though, on our dude The head's tilted a little down. I'm going to tilt that up a little bit, but I think we're pretty close. I'm just going to kind of tilt the head up a little bit. We tilt the head to the side a little bit more. And something like that. Okay, maybe down a little bit more. Whoops. Hard to grab these lines a lot of the time. It's also very imprecise sometimes. Head posing is kind of the most annoying one in my opinion, because it's really hard to get it particularly where you want it. I'm going to go, I think, with that. I might tilt it up a little bit more. A very specific spot I want it. I think right there. Yeah, good enough. Good enough. Good enough for me. I will take it. Can't always be a perfectionist on things, but yeah. I'm going to try to do an 85. I think an 85 might get it that closer range that I want. Obviously, we're going to crop this picture a bit to a square later. But I think I might be able to actually use an 85. Not quite sure. But like that's the picture. That's like almost exactly the picture. That's crazy. Now we got it in the center already. Let's see if I can get the... Oh, I can get the focal range out here this far. Usually with the wider lenses, you can only go... Like, that's as far as I can go. And you can see this pink line. That's as far as we can go with the focus. But we're stretching it, but we're getting pretty far. So hey, that's actually pretty good. Obviously, the closer you're going to get, the less that's going to be in focus. Like, that's where our focus is. Anything past the glasses is going to be slightly out of focus. But that's generally where we want it to be. That works for me. Okay, so I'll probably turn the aperture, which is like the blur amount, down when we export it anyway, because realistically we won't need the blur. But what does it look like right now with our temporary lighting? Looks pretty clean, pretty clean. Obviously we're going to change the lighting a little bit, but yeah. Does that mustache still look like pure black? I can't really tell. Kind of looks pure black, but I did change the color. I thought, anyway. Hold on, let's go to the... I want to open this real quick. Does this actually change the color, or did it reset it? I have to see. Aha! I knew it didn't do it. There we go. Much better. Much better. I knew it was weird. There we go. That looks a lot nicer now. I was like, that looks too dark to me. Nice. Okay, cool. So there's our dude. I was trying to think for a second. Carly, on her Animal Crossing villager, has a custom like face paint. I didn't actually add it to the artwork I did last time of her either. But she adds like a few like freckles to her villager. I don't have any face paint though, so I'm good. I was just thinking about it. I'm like, do I? It's been so long since I've actually gone into Animal Crossing and played, so I'm like, give me a second. I have to think about that. But we're good. We're good. Okay, so let's do some stuff with lighting. So the way that I do lighting is I start off by doing a thing called 3-point lighting. Pretty simple, not too complex. I do it here on this camera. I have 3 lights. I mean, it's a little bit different in this scenario because I can't set it up exactly how I would do it in a real life scenario for my own setup, but I do have 3 lights. Not quite the same way, but typically you have a light on this side and this side, right? And I have 1 light here and 1 light here. This light over here is brighter, and then I have this light over here that's a little bit dimmer. You have 1 light typically that you make as your key light. So that's like your main light source that lights most of your stuff. So for instance, for me, this light that's over this way is kind of the main light. It has all this light on my face. Typically people make that light brighter. I don't like doing that. I like making the secondary light, which is this light over here, a little bit brighter just to get that like nice side glow lighting. Just my opinion. That's kind of personal taste at that point. And then usually in 3-point lighting, the third light would be a light that's probably like up above, pointing down behind you, and it's usually a backlight, and it kind of like lights the outline of you to make it a bit more obvious, you know, to separate you from the background a bit more. I don't have the setup for that, so I can't do that. But typically that's kind of the third light you do. My third light is just a light in front of me that lights the center of me a little bit better, which is totally fine. For this kind of setup, that's kind of the 3-point lighting you would do for a stream setup. A lot of people use a ring light. I just have some nano leaf panels, which are those like triangle wall panels that you can put on your wall. And I just have those. And they work really nice. But a ring light is probably the one most people would use. I just don't have one. Anyway, so we're gonna kind of be mimicking that a little bit in this. So we kind of already have our key light set up. I might modify this a little bit, but it's already kind of here. I might raise this a little bit. I want it to be kind of up on his face here. It's kind of here right now, the highlight of it. I want it to be a little bit more up here. Not by much. But so yeah, so our lights are kind of invisible until you go and select the light, and then you can see where it is. So we're going to raise it up a little bit. Like that. I'm probably going to tilt it a little bit over like that. Okay, totally going to play with my lighting after work today, after you said all that. Here's the thing. Okay. Super important thing about lighting. To make any like camera look 10 times better, do that kind of lighting. It really helps. Before I used the camera I use now, which is a very nice camera, and it looks very nice, and I like it, but I was using a Logitech Brio little webcam. It's a more expensive one, but it's still not nearly as nice as like an expensive DSLR camera, which this is right now. But I still had people, I'd show up on stream, and I'd have people come in and be like, man, your camera looks real good. And it doesn't look terrible, by any means, the Logitech Brio. But like, it looks fairly okay. But it doesn't look super remarkable. But people were saying that because I had like lighting set up to make it look nicer. If you add any lighting, like a lot of lighting to any webcam, boom. I totally will. I have just 3 cheap pedestal lights, and I have a generic hand-me-down cam. I think my cam looks terrible, but it could be lighting. Literally, the number one problem with a webcam, number one problem with pretty much any webcam, is this: because a webcam's tiny, and because the little actual sensor of the camera is tiny, it takes a lot of light. 2 lights, not 3. Still, you could still do 2 lights, honestly. Just have 2 lights on both sides. Totally works. I would recommend a front light as well. But you don't need it. If you only have 2 lights for like 2 sides, just try to bring them as close as you can to yourself. Like kind of like don't separate them as much, and you can kind of mimic that center. But like literally a webcam just has such a small sensor, you need to like pump it with like so much light. So much light before it's like a decent light level. And a lot of cameras will be like, oh, but you don't need a lot of lighting. It has auto exposure, and it's going to make the lighting look really good, and it's going to level it so it looks great. But then it's like grainy. It looks really grainy and really bad because it's not getting enough light, but then after the fact, it's basically in software usually will bump the light up to make it look acceptable, which is fine. Not a terrible solution for the average person, but if you want your camera to look good, you're going to have to actually put light into it. And the thing that I don't like about the Logitech Brio, as much as it's a nice camera, the software really tries. I'm either grainy or I feel like I'm saturated. Yep. Those 2 things are 2 simple things. You probably have auto white balance in the camera, which is trying to correct the actual like color correction so that everything looks the right way. And it's overdoing it because the lighting's too low, so it doesn't really know what to do. And then the graininess is just because it's not actually getting enough light. Even though it's trying to look like it is, it's not doing a good job. So literally, just do those two things. Just pump some light into it. If possible, to turn off the auto white balance, maybe do that, just because auto white balance is usually bad in a webcam. So it can be okay. The Brio, in my experience, is good, but you know, I also wish that OBS is really cool in my experience, because you're able to actually go and kind of. So this is the reason I don't like the Brio, is because if you go into software for the Brio, it's made by Logitech, and in my experience, Logitech's software is garbage poo-poo. Not good. Usually always broken. But in OBS, you have the nice advantage of being able to go into your webcam settings, and OBS has its own webcam settings, separate from any software, which is really nice because sometimes a manufacturer in a webcam will lock you out of some settings that OBS can just get past for no reason. One of them is almost always the exposure setting. Literally, I would say turn the exposure down lower and set it off of automatic, and then play around with the brightness setting and the gain setting. That will actually make it better. Because again, the Brio looks really good. You just have to get around the crap Logitech software, and then it looks great. And most webcams are similar. I've had other webcams. I used to have a Microsoft Life Cam, which was bad because it got out of sync because of the way it compressed video, which was really, really weird. But it didn't look bad. And same problem as the Brio. The exact same thing. It just had weird lighting, but once you pumped enough light into it, it looked good. Yeah. Anyway, that's the general thing. But yes, so I'm going to keep the key light there. I think it's good. Yes, thanks, man. I'm totally going to play around with this tonight. Cool stuff. It's always fun to play around with lighting. I like playing around with this. The two lights that I have has some extra color settings too. I don't use them on stream because we just need some simple lighting. You just need to be able to see me. Hi there. But I sometimes play around with it for photos and stuff. It's fun. I'm gonna leave the key light there. Honestly, that looks good. I think our test lights were pretty good. That one's okay. This one over here, I might move this a little bit upwards just because the skin's a little bright. You don't really want to overexpose yourself and make things too bright if possible. If there's a little bit of overexposure, it's not terrible. Like on myself right now, there's a little bit of pretty bright white. But if we go over here, right now, my camera lagged out. My stuff lags out sometimes. It's not fully white. You can still see the texture of my skin, but it's pretty bright. It's a little bright white here, but generally you want to try not to get it pure white because then you just can't see any detail, right? So, So it's not pure white here yet, but it's getting pretty close. So I'm not going to try to... So a way that I try to get around that, at least in this, is I try to just move the light away a little bit. And then also I try to kind of move it to get a little bit more in here. And I do like that the lights in Source Filmmaker work like a real light, where if you actually put it closer, it gets brighter, which is very nice. I forget what software I used a long time ago, but literally it was it might have been Maya or something like that, where the lights didn't change their brightness based on proximity. It was based on the value you put, which I was like, that's really strange. I don't like that. I like moving around my lights and having it affect like a normal light would, because putting your light, the position of lights is also very crucial in terms of how light's going to, again, it's almost like picking your lenses, like I explained before, because obviously the closer to the light, the less spread you're going to get. So, I mean, you kind of just have to play around with that until you get something you like. I'll leave that like that. I think that's not bad. Might be able to bring this a little bit closer. Something like that. I might also be able to turn this a little bit like this. Yeah, something like that. Maybe I'll move that back a little bit more. Kind of get that side lighting. I'm gonna add some edge lighting as well, which is kind of like really like just like super fine highlighting on the edges and stuff. Oop, that's a model, not a light. New light. There we go, perfect. I do like how fine the shadows are sometimes. Like, wow, look. That's where the real art is. Alright, so let's move this light. And what I'm going to do with this light is I'm going to move it behind our dude, and we're going to do that kind of like backlighting thing that I said. But I'm probably going to angle it a little bit more to the side, kind of up here. It's kind of sometimes hard to tell, but generally I'm kind of slightly behind our dude, kind of like this, to the side, and then I'm going to move our light this way. I do wish that there were some lines, like the camera telling you where the light was actually pointed. It's like one little thing I wish existed. Put it over our dude. We're not really hitting the hair quite right. There we go. And there's a little bit of that. We're not quite in the right spot. Probably going to move over to the side a little bit more. See if I can get this in the spot I want. There you go. That's kind of where I want it to be. Some fine stuff. If you just add a little bit of highlight, your dude, and obviously we'll crank the size of this. Not so much the horizontal, I just want the vertical. Basically horizontal and vertical literally is just like stretching it out this way or stretching the light out that way. But it still tries to keep your light in a circle a little bit, so it's kind of weird. Hey Nate, how's it going? We're just making some stuff, making some artwork, because technically this is the Thursday stream, but on a Friday, because I wasn't able to stream yesterday. Instead, I went outside and got a sunburn in like 2 hours. I didn't realize how like literally pale I was for not going outside during basically most of quarantine and stuff, and then go outside as like the pale ghost I am and get sunburnt in 2 hours. Like, literally there was just members of my family that I was hanging out with that like still go outside on occasion. They still get like their tans and they still look normal, and I just look like I haven't like eaten food in like a year. Again, the camera does me service for making me look okay. But I'm like paper pale in real life. Like, this shirt is not nearly as saturated as it looks on camera, but I need to up the saturation so that I don't look unsaturated. Alright, so we added that bit of edge lighting. I'm probably going to add a second light so we can get some edge lighting over here, because that'll really help if we get like some fine edge lighting there. Source Filmmaker does have a cap for lights. I believe it's like 9. But that's 9 lights with shadows. You can also add lights that just brighten things with ambient occlusion, but don't have any like specific shadows to them. Basically, like if you put like an object in front of a light, it won't cast the shadow of that object, but if it hits a light with ambient occlusion, it'll still change the shadows on the model. If you just turn shadows off. So with lighting without shadows, I think there's like 20 or something lights you can put in. So we're on light 4. So I mean, we're probably only going to put in maybe like 7 at the max. I usually don't like to put in a lot of lights, but we'll see what happens, you know? And that light is way further back than I thought it was. This light's probably going to be almost directly over our guy. Oops, that's the wrong one. Oop, there's that. Ooh, look at that. Need to put it up higher. Come much higher. And back a bit. And we'll see here, I might need to... I'm making kind of this edge light a little bit softer, just because it's hair. I don't like putting a hard edge light on hair, just because it's kind of unnatural. See if I can get this light in the right spot. I'm trying to keep it mostly an edge. It can be a little hard to get it exactly how you want it. Let's try that. There we go. Generally what I want. Something like that. Get that kind of glow around the head. Might be able to a bit bigger. Something like that. I turn the shadow filter size up so that we don't have any hard shadows. That just kind of makes the shadows softer when we do that. I also like to sometimes add color to some of our lights. So our key light, all of our lights so far are just pure white. I'm going to add a little bit of, we have like our RGB sliders. So you kind of, it's a subtractive process. So basically we're like taking away colors from other colors. So if we have green here, if we take that away, we're going to get magenta because we took the green away. So now it's just blue and red. We got that like purpley magenta. So if we take away a bit of green, we take away a bit of blue, we have mostly red, which kind of makes an orangey color. So I kind of just play around with that. I don't want to make it too colored, but I like to add a little bit of orangey, reddish color to some of the lights just to kind of give it a bit of, bit more flavor, I guess. A little bit of that extra spice. I'm going to turn the key light up a little bit more when I had it. There we go. There's that. I'm going to turn this edge light up a little bit. Is this the one we had? You can still turn these lights up quite a bit if you use other settings like this. That's not too bad, actually. Something like that. Let's see if I can move this light to be a little bit over our hair a little bit more. I kind of want to have a light there. Oh, there we go. That's not bad. I'm actually okay with the hair being lit a little bit by some of the residual force of that, if you will. Something like that. There you go. I actually don't mind that. There's kind of a thing too where you're just kind of playing around with lights for a little bit to see like what you like. But I like that. There's a little bit more we can do. I'm going to add more of another edge light kind of coming from the bottom around the edge of the face down here. And I might even add a light kind of in front and kind of on the ground kind of pointing towards the face just to kind of act similar to how my lights work. Like here, I'll show you an example real quick. Do you see my face now? Hello? Actually, let's... a little bit of lag when we do this, just because. So you see my face now. You see the different lightings? Here, I'm going to show you some examples of different lightings. I have to get up to do this, but I'll show you. I have a light in front of me. I'll turn it off and we'll see. See me now. I'm beautiful. Wow. Haha. I'm not, but anyway. Boop. So I turned off my front-facing light, which is not terrible, but you can kind of see the difference. It's a little bit harder sometimes to see my face. There's a bit more shadow on my face. If I turn it back on, this gets rid of some of that shadow. It's subtle, but it's there, you know. But then there's these lights, obviously, which you try to grab this. Oof. Very far away. Wow, doesn't that look great? These lights are very important. So, yeah. Cool stuff. Oof. Ah. Wow. But anyway, so I want to add a little bit of brightness to the front of our dude because he's, if you kind of look in the little preview, it's kind of hard to see the front of his face a little bit. I want to brighten that up. Just a little bit. Just a little. But I'm going to add this little edge light for right now. Actually, we can just do this. Now, which one do I want to copy? This one. We can literally just copy lights and paste them. So we don't have to just like move it all back where we need it to go. Makes a lot of sense. I feel like I have some overly dramatic shadows on my face, so this is making so much sense now. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. With like something like Source Filmmaker, obviously I'm adding like 5 lights. I'm not going to say, hey, go get like 5 lights for your real life setup. But when you're making like posters and stuff, you can kind of enhance it. It's making that 3-point lighting setup and then kind of expanding upon that and just adding little tiny touches of flair. Like, hey, what if there's a little bit of defining light over here? Or why not have a little light here to just kind of help the image pop a little bit more? So that's kind of what we're doing. But generally for an actual setup, I would say 3-point lighting. There you go. You're good. Pretty much any interview you've seen in your life ever is probably just that. Probably nothing else. I'm trying to get this. Trying to get this in the right spot. Kind of like that. A little intense. I'm okay with a little bit of that glow on his chin. Maybe more like that. Just like these little subtle things to try to bring the face out from the background. Obviously we have a background now, which is a nice thing to like see how we can pop them out from the background at the moment. But I'm going to put a green screen behind this dude in a bit. There we go. So we did that. And that also brings the backpack out a little bit too, so we can see that now. Cool stuff, cool stuff. Got another light. This light's actually good for being in front of our guy, because that's basically where I'm going to put it. Not quite. I'm going to put it over this way and down a bit. And then point it up at our dude. Still a little bright, but we can change that. Gonna be a pretty subtle light, just like that. Literally like that. Literally. Look at how much of a difference that makes. Not much, but it's just a little bit. I'm gonna move this light still a little bit, so don't worry. I'm literally putting it like in the middle of his face just to kind of have that evened lighting. A little bit. Just a little bit. Obviously these glasses kind of make the face a bit darker, which is totally fine. No problem with that. That's gonna happen. That's a natural process. Happens to my face too. You see these shadow lines? That's just how glasses work. I could probably turn this up a little bit more. I'm gonna use this thing called quadratic attenuation, which kind of is a more subtle intensity. You can see how it kind of goes up a little bit, but not a lot. It is a different process in terms of how intensity works, so... But in general, that's kind of the best way to do it. There's that. So that's with and without. Hard to see his face. Now we can see his face a little bit more. I'm actually going to turn the radius up a little bit. Just a little bit, like that. Then turn the brightness down a little bit. And there you go. Go from that to that. A little bit of a glow. And actually I'm going to add a little bit of a red to that. Or a little bit of a purple, I guess. A magenta-y color. There you go. For the most part, outside of that, I don't think there's too much to add. I might add another kind of more colored light, maybe like a bluish light. We'll see what color I want to do. but just kind of really like to the side edge of him, more on his clothing. Because we can see this part of his clothes, which is fine. Obviously the face is the main thing, but there's really no light on this arm at all. And so I want to change that a little bit. Just because there's nothing there. So yeah. But anyway, there you go. 7 lights. Boom. This will be our last light for sure. And as I said, there's basically going to be 7 lights. So there's that. There is obviously... I say I'm going to put a green screen behind our dude. Which may be true. But there is a green in the eyes. So what I might actually do is use a blue screen. It's the same as a green screen, it's just blue. And I don't want to get rid of his greeniness from his eyes, so I probably don't want to do that. Use a green screen, I mean. Actually, I'm going to tilt this down, mostly just put it on his clothes. Yeah, I like that. Now that unfortunately adds a little bit of brightness to his ear. So there is a thing you can do. I don't think it's going to work here for us though, unfortunately. But it might. We have these sliders here, it's min and max distance. Basically, you can say, so see how the light, this one light's pointing this way? If we change the max distance, it's not going to go that far. So if you use these sliders, you might be able to get it in a way where it gets that, just the clothing. I don't think we're going to get that, though. Just because it's so close together, I don't think it's actually going to work. Yeah, we're not going to be able to get it between that. You really only have a few, like, it's not precise measurements, kind of like ticks of measurement. So we're not really going to be able to get the light to interact that way without hitting this ear. So in that case, I think we just have to move the light until we get it to where we want it to be. Might just be something as simple as moving it closer and moving it just on the clothing. Which for some reason is not actually working. Oh, I know why. Because we have our sliders up. Yep. Maybe. Possibly. There you go. I might actually put this behind his clothes a little bit more just to give a bit of depth. I don't want to highlight the clothes too much. Just like that, perfect. And then I'll turn the intensity down a little bit. Yeah, it'll just be kind of on the clothes, but we'll just give a bit of depth to that. There we go. Simple. Literally just on the sleeve, but you know what? I think at the end of the day, that's all we need. So there you go. There's our dude. With some fancy lighting. And the funnest, the best part about doing all of this, we'll save this, and I believe we can do this way? No, we can't quite do it this way, but we can literally turn all this off and take a look at how this looks. So that's what we started with. Doesn't feel like that's what we started with, does it? But that's what we started with. Kind of crazy. Turn all these lights on and you immediately get a lot of better lighting. Look at that. What a transformation, dude. It looks really nice, actually. One thing that I'm seeing, just because I'm like that, I want to turn these edge lights down just a little bit. Mostly, oh, not that one. That one's fine. Where's the other light that I want? 3. Yeah, I'm just going to turn that down a little bit. Just to there. There we go. That's all I want to do. But there you go. Looks a lot nicer. Looks a lot better. Pretty nice. Okay, so for blue screen, there's just a pretty simple thing. There's this one... I don't even know if it's on the Steam Workshop anymore. Literally could not tell you. I don't actually know. there is this, no, I had to add this in a custom mod. Somebody had it, a guy called Das Matzi. This Matzi, I don't know. He has these green screen panels. They're literally just different size panels. It's just green. That's all it is. For this, we'll probably only need maybe a 128. We won't need a very big one because we're zoomed in pretty close. But literally, it's slicing through his face right now, but because it's where the camera spawned, we don't even see it. But the second we turn it, it's gonna look weird. Whoa! But we have to turn it like this, and then just move it behind our dude. It's not affected by lighting whatsoever. Well, it affects lighting, but it doesn't actually have any lighting. So yeah, there's our dude. We got a green screen behind him. And then we can change this to 1, which will change it to blue. There you go. There's our dude. On a blue screen. We could basically render this now. I might do it now. I don't know how that's going to affect my computer. It might go freaking bananas, but I'm going to render this at 4K, I think. So all you have to do that, export poster. There you go. And then you just change it to PNG because who likes TGA? I don't know. It still renders the TGA. TGA is just kind of a more raw format, but PNG is fine enough, honestly. Let's label this riskRED Animal Crossing profile pic. There you go. File names. Yeah, and then all you do for this one is I just change this to 2160, and now we're in 4K. People have said they've had issues rendering in 4K in this, which I'm unsure of how that really works because I've never had an issue. I literally just up it to it and it works. But apparently, if you have that issue, if you want to use SFM or you have in the past but you haven't been able to do 4K images, there is apparently a launch setting in Steam, so you can add like custom launch options, and there's a way to like up the resolution of the program itself to 4K, which will just change the internal resolution to 4K, because that's the only part that's actually a game engine. And apparently that will be a workaround that somehow works. So if you're having issues, do that. I don't have issues, but have issues, do that. And we can't change any of that unless we do inches, I believe. Yeah. That's fine anyway. We don't need it higher than 300. Okay, so yeah, other than that, export poster, and then it does this, which is fun. This window likes to come back and go away at random times, and it gets very confused. Basically, it renders your pictures in chunks. So the way it kind of does, actually, before I do that, I'm going to cancel that. I forgot one thing I want to do. I want to turn the aperture down. We don't need the blur. We do not need the blur. We just don't. It's fine. But yeah, there's it kind of renders a preview, but that's obviously a low resolution thing. It'll look really good when we actually render it. For the most part, obviously there's the limitations of model resolution. The Animal Crossing models were not meant to be obviously looked at as close as they are in so much detail with so fancy lighting, I guess. So, you know, there will be just limitations where we will just see hard edges that aren't fully smooth. They're just kind of hard vertices. But yeah, so this is how it renders a picture. It puts this little overlay over it. That little square here, it's rendering that, and then it'll move on here, and here, and here, and here, and it'll kind of scan through. Takes a little bit to do. 1 of 16 tiles. We'll just sit here while we let it do its thing. And then once we do that, I'll load it up into Photoshop, and we'll do some stuff. The window likes to disappear too. It's really fun. It'll be like, it's not responding, and then you'll click on it. Then it'll be like, what? And then you click on it again, and now it's back. Source jank. Just how it is. Yeah, so anyway, while we're waiting for this, I think, so next stream we'll be doing a stream tomorrow. I'm not sure at all what we'll be doing. Our Saturday streams are the wildcard streams where we just kind of do whatever we feel like, whatever we want to do, you know? But I think... No, I don't know. Still not sure yet. We'll definitely be streaming tomorrow, but I'm not really fully sure what we'll be doing. Sunday, of course, we'll be doing Prime Games again. If you haven't showed up to a Prime Game stream, or you haven't even known that they're a thing I do where here on Twitch there is Amazon Prime or whatever. You can connect your Amazon Prime to your Twitch. You get, I believe it's called Prime Gaming now. It was originally called Twitch Prime. Prime Gaming. You get a Prime sub. You can sub to a streamer of your choice for a month for free, which is real cool. But on top of that, you do get games for free. You can just redeem and use in the Amazon Games app. And they give away games like, I think like 5 games every month. Actually, I need to check today. I haven't even looked. There should be more games today. Actually, technically yesterday. Haven't looked. I'll have to look. But they give games for free. I have not played most of them that I've redeemed over the years that I've had it. And I have like almost 300 games. So, kind of want to try those out. So that's what we do in Prime Games. We just kind of, we put the total numbers of games. I believe it's 284 right now. Put it in a random number generator, pick 3 of those games, or, you know, we take the 3 that we get, and we play them on stream. I do that the night before just because I have to install it and make sure that the game actually works. That's what I do. And then we play those games on the stream, and we see if we like them or not. And that's the premise. It's not complicated. That's what we do. So, if you're interested in that, last stream we did, all the games were actually surprisingly decent, which was a first. Usually out of 3 games, one of them's crap, at least. But, it wasn't terrible last time, so, hey. Cool for that, I guess. Cool for that. Anyway. So, this is still going. Takes a little while in 4K, I will say. Does take a little bit. But it looks good in the end, I promise you. It looks really nice. And then I'll show you some things I do to kind of spruce up a little bit. I don't know what the background will be. I guess the background will probably just be one of the riskRED things that I have because, you know, stuff. But yeah. I'll take a quick break. Actually, I do need to go to the bathroom really quick myself. So yeah, I will be right back real quick. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be editing this in Photoshop. Show you a little bit in composition sort of stuff, in kind of blending backgrounds a little bit. I don't think there would have to be too much we're doing here, but there are a few little things you can do just to make it kind of have that extra pop, that extra polish, that extra kind of integration into your backgrounds, and extra little effects you can add to make things look a little bit nicer. So we're going to be doing that real shortly. I'm just going to be right back. Yeah. See you in like... Ooh, we're almost done. We're almost there. Almost here. And, oh, there we go. It's converting to PNG. Woo, it's done. Woo. Okay, with that, I'm going to close this program. I don't think we'll need to come back to this unless the render's crap, but hold on, I'm just going to preview. Hold on, I'm just going to go to the renders just to make sure that it's good. And then, yeah, because I don't want to close this and reopen it. If it's crap, I'm going to check before we Before we close it, just because it takes a while to open this program, just because it has to load the whole game engine and the interface, and it's not like a super modern program. Not terrible by any means, but it's like, you know, oops, that's not where I want to go. Huh. Oh, I see. Wait, what? I don't know where my renders went. Hold on, I'm looking. I'm always confused because I have multiple folders that I never know where the renders go. There it is. Take a look. A little blurry. Oh, there we go. Just had to load. Obviously, you can see that the texture is kind of a bit of... That's just the actual texture of the model. Because not all these models are super high resolution. The eyes specifically are not very high resolution, which is unfortunate. The rest of the models are okay. The mouth is the same way. But the rest of it looks pretty good. So that's the picture, dude. Still not bad. Still not bad. There are a few things we can do to just make the picture look a little bit smoother, but generally, it's pretty good. Oops, I closed that. I did not want to close that. I needed to go back. Well, look at that for the moment. We can close this, though. Let's close this program real quick. I'm going to go back to that render folder. While I'm here, I meant to keep it open. I just closed it out of muscle memory. Out of just, well, stupidity mostly, actually. Okay. Are we back? We back? We back? We back. We back. Let's open that with Photoshop. Alright, let's go. Nice. Okay, so now that we're here, or going to be here anyway, the first thing we're going to do is key out the picture, which is not complicated in any way. But there are some extra little bits you can do to clean up the key. Here we are. Here's our dude. Our doodah man. So a quick way to key out any color. Just say select up here in color range. And select the background. There you go. And set this as high as you can. Because this is a pure color, it's pretty easy to set all the way to the max. Do that, and you've selected anything that's that color. Wow. Cool, dude. And then you can delete it. Get out of here. But if you put a black background behind this, or a very dark background anyway, I won't put pure black, I'll put like a very close to black, but not quite. If you go towards these edges, you might notice there's a little bit of blue edge still. A little bit. Because, unfortunately, color range, as good as it is, sometimes screws up the bit. And I think I left the actual aperture on accidentally, because there's a little bit of... That's kind of what happens when you leave that on. Doesn't really matter, though. The blur is not that insane. We can still fix it. This is something I do regardless, because even on really clean edges, like these ears, for example, it's still got a weird blue kind of highlight tinge. Normally it'd be green if I was using a green screen, but because of the eyes, I'm not going to do that. So the way to do this really easily is not what I just did. Is selecting with control the layer that you have, going to subject, or not subject, sorry, select and mask. Now you have this layer. If we zoom in to this, if you say shift edge, it's going to shift the edge inside more and more. Then you can say smooth, which sometimes it'll take a little while to update. It's not really showing too much here. Let's try feather. Sometimes feather works well. I'm actually not sure what's happening. Are we on the right layer? We're not on the right layer. Make sure you have the right layer selected. It's like it's not doing it. There we go. Now we should be good. Okay, so now we can shift the edge, and you can see it kind of shrinks the edge inside a bit. If you say smooth, it'll smooth out the edge a little bit, which also helps with the polygons and stuff. I only smooth it out a little bit though, and then I add a little bit of feather. And then I add contrast, which kind of like redefines the lines. Then we do that. We zoom out to make sure there's nothing too weird about this. Doesn't look like it. There's no way to really preview this. Or yes, sorry, there is actually. Show original. Here's the original. There's that. It will get rid of some of the edge of your render, but usually it's only by a very small amount, so you really don't notice it. I do that, and then you got to invert your selection, otherwise it's going to delete your inside, your subject. Hit Control-Shift-I, hit delete, and there you go. You got rid of your edges. Now there's no weird blue hue. There might be a little bit of artifacts of it, but generally that's a lot better. You won't really notice it at this point. And there you go. So that's how you clean that up. Another thing I like to do is I like to go to blur, into surface blur, and I set my values around 12 to 10. And that's going to kind of blur all the internals. So if you look at it here, well, you can see here. So turn it on and off. You can see how it kind of smooths some of the textures out a little bit. Some of it's a little grainy. It just smooths some of the textures out. Now we can up this a little bit more because it's an Animal Crossing thing. I'm going to set the radius to 14. Set the threshold maybe to 13. Maybe 14. We're there. That's it normally, and that's it with the surface blur. You can see how it kind of smooths out some of the objects just a little bit. Not a lot. We can really up this, actually. I'm going to up this by quite a lot then. I'm going to set this to 20. The threshold maybe to 18. Hair in my mouth. You can see how that really affects it. Because this is an Animal Crossing thing, it really just kind of helps simplify the textures down. It's starting to affect the backpack a little bit now and making it hard to define some of those textures. I might set this threshold down to something like 17 maybe. Maybe just 16. Seems like 16's the only place I can get it. 14 maybe. Yeah, 14 seems pretty good. So let's do that. And that kind of just simplifies basically all that does. In our case here, it kind of just smooths out stuff, but the way it actually works is it just takes the inside of your object and blurs everything together based on the shapes, but it doesn't blur any edges. Anything that it thinks is hard edges, it just kind of blurs the like internal color of any like object that it detects. That's how that kind of works. So it doesn't blur the outside, it just blurs stuff on the inside, and it doesn't blur any hard edges, which is very nice. So for instance, it kind of just basically blurs our textures a bit, which is really, really nice. So I like it because it kind of simplifies it. Obviously, we still have this pixelation of the eyes. We could fix that if we really went in depth with it. I'm not going to do that because it's usually not worth it. It's not hugely an issue because this also happens in Animal Crossing renders too. If you really are worried about it, you could just actually like make new shapes based on this and like custom draw this texture again if you wanted to, which we could do. I'm not going to put that much work into it. I don't think it's worth it, again, as I said, but you could do it with like shapes. You could literally like make a new layer and go and like make the pen tool and then like paste it and try to match the shape and everything and all that stuff. Yeah, it's involved, but you could do it if you really wanted to, but I'm not worrying about it. So what I'm going to do for the background here, I'm actually just going to get a background from my riskRED stuff since we're basing it off of my profile pictures here that I normally use. So I don't really have the actual background for that profile picture that I have. It's just kind of red, but my normal background kind of will work too, I think, if I just blur it a bit. This one here, I believe. There it is. Look at that. Wow. Let's put that in the background. Nice, look at that. It looks pretty cool, pretty cool. I'm going to crop this down to square as well. The way that you can do that, literally, is just by going to canvas size here and basically setting the width to the same, 2160, and making sure that it's in the middle, and then boom. Wow, look at that. It's a square now. Amazing. We could probably shrink our villager down a little bit. We could probably also do this with our villager and say Control A, which will select the whole canvas, and then move him to the middle, like that. There you go. A little bit nicer, a little bit nicer. So a few things we can do. If you look at our... Oh, we closed it actually. That's unfortunate. There it is. So if we look at our original picture, there's a few things we can do to kind of mimic our picture. Now we could add an outline. Probably not going to go that far just because we didn't match this whole style. I would just end up redrawing it if I really wanted to truly match it. But maybe we'll add a bit of a glow or something like that. And to match it to this background, for one, I'm going to brighten this background. It's a little dark in my opinion, just for an Animal Crossing type thing. I'm going to brighten this background a little bit. Turn down the contrast a little bit, but still up it a little bit. Maybe turn the black levels down a little bit just to match that brightness. And then what I'm going to do to the actual villager here is I'm actually going to add some color overlays to kind of blur or kind of have a little bit of red tinge, because there would naturally be some red tinge. It's a very red environment, so we would want to have that. So I'm going to add a gradient overlay, which can also spruce up the just picture in general. I'm going to add one here, which is going to be a color one. Now that's not the color I want. That's a very ugly color. But if we go here to, say, reds, you can find something that might look good. None of these look that great. A lot of the built-in ones from Adobe are both aesthetically pleasing if you need a color, but not good if you're trying to match color, which is acceptable. I'm going to go for pure red here, and I'm also going to go for like a darker red-orange color. Apparently I have no color window for it. Oh, never mind, I do. Some of my stuff is popping up on my other monitor. So we're going to go for this in kind of a darker orangey kind of color, so we get that kind of gradient like that. And there we go. And I'm going to reverse this because that kind of matches the thing. And you can see how the color is pretty close matching. It's a little bit brighter on the top. If we set the color here now, it's going to look weird at first because it's very red and only red. Look at that. That's awful. I mean, it does match well. Credit where credit's due, but I'm only going to do it maybe about like this at the most. You can see how that kind of just enhances the matching, right? Like that's without it, that's with it. It just adds a little bit of extra flavor. I'm gonna put this into a folder so I can put another gradient on this. What I'm gonna do is put this gradient on it, which is just a white and black gradient set to overlay. So it does this kind of thing, and that just adds a little bit of extra shine and depth to our picture. I'm just going to very subtly add it, just because it brightens the face up a little bit. That's with it, and this is without it. Oh, this is without it. You can see how it just kind of brings a bit more attention to the face without affecting too much. Another thing I like to do is add an inner glow. So I don't actually have this up, so here you go. So here's the window. So I usually like to add this just in general anyway, just to enhance that edge lighting. Well, actually, this is usually what I'll do. I usually add this just as a color. And then I will set this again to that kind of reddish tinge. Really get that going in, and I'm just going to very lightly have this be this red color. Once again, that just helps again bring it into the environment again. And then what else I'm going to do is I'm going to add an inner shadow. And what an inner shadow can do is you can actually set it to whatever angle. So we can set it to this side, but we can rotate it to be on that side or be down this way or whatever we want to do. What I want to do is just have it be on one side and be kind of an extra little bit of lighting like this, right? I'll set this to linear dodge, which will brighten all the colors. I'm going to set the distance to something like this. And do that. I'll even make it go down a little bit more. So that's without it, that's with it. If we just add it a little bit, that just adds a little bit extra separation, just like that. Like that, nothing too complex. And one last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to add an outer glow. Oops, I turned all the effects off, my bad. We're going to add an outer glow to this as well. So I'm going to go back to the blending options, add an outer glow, which is just going to literally add a glow on the outside, like that. And it's orange right now. I'm going to set it to kind of a reddish white. Like this. There's a little bit of noise. Which is not a terrible thing, for sure. I'm not going to set it too bright, but just enough to kind of highlight our character a little bit. Like that. And yeah, I mean, that's basically that. There's not too much else that we can really do. One thing we might do just to help the depth a little bit, and actually something I might do, I might change the depth of this background just to make it look like he's standing in the environment. So that's kind of the plane of that. And one thing I might do is add a field blur, just to make it look like there's a bit of a blur going on in here. So what that is, you go to blur gallery, you can go to and do field blur, where you can set 2 points. So if you set here, this is the floor, so we're going to set this to no blur at all. And then we'll set this blur back to about here, and it assumes this is the background, and we'll set kind of the, well, it doesn't really assume it's the background, it kind of just has different locations for blurs. I'm going to put one here and put another one here, just to specify that this should not be blurred either. Should be blurred, and this should be blurred a lot. There you go. So without it, it looks like this. It just kind of blurs the clouds up in these sections a little bit more. As you can see, kind of gives us a blurrier background like that. Pretty cool. We can kind of affect the bokeh too. Bokeh is kind of just like when you blur how the light reacts to the camera lens. Nothing super complex. There's not really anything here that determines that we need to have that. We're going to render that quick. We're rendering it high quality. Actually, it's going to take a little bit longer. Woo! Oh, it's glitching out everything. Oh god. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh no, Photoshop. What is he doing to me?
Help me, I'm in an abyss. Help. 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 Oh no. I'm having a stroke.
It's fine. Photoshop does that for some reason. It just uses so much RAM power when it renders any effect. It's very odd. Sorry about that. I forgot it did that on the blurs. Specifically that one. All the other ones are kind of fine. I don't know what's with that one. Anyway, so yeah. So, I mean, that's basically that. I don't really have anything else. The only other thing I would add, possibly if you really want to go overboard and be really cool, is download some cool stock images of, like, little, like, screen smoke, dust, weird, maybe screen scratches, some vignettes, any little stuff like that. I'll show you some stuff. I'll show you one picture I use in pretty much friggin' everything, because I'm unoriginal and uninspired, and this is the only picture I ever use in literally everything. And if I can find it, I always forget where it is, and I never find it. It's always, like, near the top. Where is this picture? Come on, bro. I know it exists. Don't hide it from me forever. I know it's around here somewhere. You can't hide it from me. I'm trying to find this picture that I know exists, and I can't find it. Where is it? I'm gonna find it. I know it exists in the folder I'm looking, I just am blind. Oh, there it is. This picture here. There's this picture of, like, dust particles. Oh, it's not on the right layer. Whoop. There it is. This picture of dust particles. I use it on, like, every picture. So literally just overlay, like, some dust particles or some scratches or something on your screen. And just do, like, a screen effect and, like, turn that down quite a bit. And that just creates, like, some extra depth into your picture. Literally by adding nothing. Like, a little bit of extra detail and stuff. It's, like, such an easy way to add, like, a little bit of extra stuff for no... Like, all you have to do is, like, make sure you can find images that you can use. That's the hardest part, really. It's harder nowadays. I have a library of, like, a bunch of free stuff that doesn't really exist. That's... no. I don't want that. I have other pictures of stuff. There's one that I like, but I forget where it is. That's a very similar picture, but it's almost as good. I don't use it as much though, but I think this picture would benefit from it, and I just don't know where it is. I thought I found it, but that was the snow picture. Guess what I use that for? Snow! Oh, there it is. This picture. A few little extra bits of like bokeh dust. It helps integrate the scene a little bit more. Add that as screen. Make sure you make these subtle, because otherwise it's going to look too busy. You don't really want that. What is this? Hey, look, it's more of that stuff. Just random stuff. Let's add like a screen scratch too, just to be weird. We could add that. Let's add this. This is a low resolution thing, but I have a way to modify this to look cool. To look real fancy. Do this. Just gonna add a cool little edge effect to our thing. Obviously, again, make it subtle, because otherwise it looks weird. As you can see. This one might be cool if we do like an overlay. You know what? I'm actually not going to use this one. I don't like it. Never mind. Get out of here. Please get out of here. Why can't I delete this layer, please? This layer will not delete. Delete, yes, delete the layer, please. Oh my god. That took forever. Okay. No, I just have one layer that I found that I do want to add to it then. That I believe was at the top of the screen, but never mind, I think I'm wrong. I have this like huge folder of like screen stuff to add, like little like things to add, like stock photos and stuff that I have, but like there's so many now that I've gotten over the years that it's so hard to like keep them straight, honestly. Oh, I found this one texture and I can't find it now. Oh, there it is. Actually, I think this is a different one, but it gets the same point across. I think this is the better one too. This one's higher resolution. A lot of the ones that I have is like low resolution crap, which is unfortunate. That one's really nice, actually. Yeah, so it's just like little effects that you can add on top of stuff for no apparent reason. Other than that, basically, that's all I'm going to add. Sometimes I like to add a light. Actually, I might still do that. Here's something you can do. That's kind of fun. Take a black layer, make it like this, render out, go to lens flare. Then you get this little lens flare window. I'm going to use this one. I usually don't use this one. I usually use 105 prime, which is a very nice one. But I'm going to use this one because I want to feel different today. Because why not? Anyway, put it where you want it. I'm going to put it in the corner because that's just where I want it. I'm going to resize this too, make it a little bit bigger so that it's not quite fully on screen. I'm also going to change this to black and white and then add color to it after, make it kind of red. It'll take a second for this window to load for this. There we go. It should be black and white. It's not. Yeah, whatever. We can hit OK. There we go. And then I'm going to add a color gradient. That'll probably be that same red if it's saved. It did. Wow. And that's pretty good. And then I'm going to merge this layer down so it keeps that red. And then we're going to say linear dodge add. Then we're going to turn this down until we like it where we're at. And I'm also going to blur it a bit with probably just Gaussian blur, honestly. Just so it's not fully in focus, because it wouldn't be in a real camera. And that adds a cool effect too. And you can kind of play around with how it's actually in your scene, where you like it. If it's a bit too bright, dim it down. Maybe reposition it until you get it where you want it. I like it there. That's without it. That's with it. That adds a little bit of extra flair, you know? Pretty cool. Lens flares are cool. Add lens flares if you can. all that cool stuff. I mean, that's pretty much that. There's not much else I can add here. I'm going to save this on my computer for right now. And that's basically that. I don't have too much else to add there. I'm actually going to save that in my riskRED stuff. But yeah, that's literally everything. Fun stuff. That's the picture. There is the maybe added benefit of maybe, you know, redrawing this to match the actual riskRED style. Who knows? But I like this the way it is. You know, it's pretty good. There is one other thing too that I might do, or just kind of show you guys. If you're making this, and say I'm going to use this as a profile picture, I think this is actually too big to fit in something. Like, a lot of profile pictures now are circles, right? So typically, oh, I'm hoping that my mic is tracking. Otherwise, hold on. I'm just gonna make sure my mic is tracking because apparently I don't have the visual for that. Okay, we're fine. For some reason, my visual of my actual mic and my music is completely frozen. I think that's just a Photoshop glitched it for some reason. Anyway, so okay, right? Here's this. Let me zoom this in a little bit more just for you guys. So here's this, right? One last thing is if you're making this into a profile picture, I got an error that freaked me out. It was just Streamlabs telling me that Twitch is having issues right now with people going live if they're not live already. That's fine, we're live, so don't screw me up, bro. That's all I ask. Alright, so I'm just gonna make sure this is the right size. Make a circle like this, because a lot of things use circles as their profile pictures now. Woo-ba-ya-boo-ba-ba. Don't do that. Do that, set the opacity down, and see what's in your picture. Well, I mean, that would work, but that sizing's a little tight, in my opinion. It's a little massive. But our villager guy does fit, though. But to fix the size a little bit, maybe just do this a little bit. Just a little bit. Maybe move your guy until you're happy with where he is. And then do that. And then remove your circle again. And there you go. That's your actual picture. That's what it will actually be. Right? There you go. So that's the actual sizing. So like, use that sometimes too, because a lot of things use circle profile pictures. So you don't want to make a graphic that fits in a square. You make it as a circle and half of it's cut off because the corners are cut off to make a circle. So just do that. That's a quick way to do that too. Really simple. You can set it in a more complicated way so that it like masks your image so it actually does cut off everything only when that layer's on. You know, you can make it really convoluted that way by using like groups and stuff. Not really necessary. That's a little overkill. Just make a circle like that and there you go. Because you're still going to upload your picture as a square just because you already made the square as a full image. Just make sure that everything fits in the circle picture too. Yeah, anyway, that's that. I'm pretty much done with that. That is making Animal Crossing art in Source Filmmaker and talking about lighting and composition and stuff. If you guys enjoy some of the Photoshop talk, some of the, you know, just artsy talk and talking about like technical stuff and learning stuff, I know that some of you guys enjoy that. I do that typically on Thursday. Today's Friday, but my normal streams are typically on Thursday. The schedule is down below. And I try to follow that. I just happened to have to go out on Thursday, so we moved the stream to today. But yes, so that's pretty much everything. Yeah. Yeah, our stream schedule is Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern. That is when we go live. And yeah, cool beans. Yeah. That's pretty much everything. Again, on Saturday, I'm not sure what the stream will be, but on Sunday we will be doing Prime games, and on Monday we typically do our stream series game. We just finished Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, so we will be doing a new stream series game on, I said Monday, Tuesday is what I meant. So we will be starting our new stream series game on Tuesday, which will be really fun. So yeah, that's pretty much all the stuff there. I hope that again you guys did enjoy the stream for today. Our art streams are typically on Thursday, so yeah, we will be doing more of art stuff on Thursday, possibly Saturday. I haven't decided fully on what I want to do. Probably not that on Saturday, but I'm not sure what we'll be doing. If you want to find out, we have the Discord and the Twitter. I will update that as soon as I know what the plan is for Saturday's stream. It is our wild card stream, so it's just kind of whatever it will end up being. If I want to do art, we'll do art. If I want to do a game, we'll do a game. If I want to do something really stupid and wacky and completely unexpected, that's when it's going to happen. So, yeah. But yeah, so that's everything for me for today. Again, I don't have anything else beyond that. I hope that you guys, again, enjoyed, and I will see you on, well, tomorrow. The next stream is tomorrow. It is Saturday tomorrow. I keep forgetting that because our normal stream is on Thursday, but today is Friday. Whoa. Weird. So yeah, I will see you tomorrow, 12 p.m. Eastern. We will be doing something. We'll be doing something. And then after that, I'll be seeing you on Sunday again. 3 streams. 3 days in a row. Isn't that great? That's going to be fun. But yeah, anyway, that is everything. Thank you guys again for coming out. I hope you learned something useful. See you guys. Bye-bye. Later, everybody.